By any sensible strategic reckoning, there were only three sectors where the lie of the land in the direction of the railways ran as a favor to an Allied attack: the Somme, Artois, and Champagne. During 1915, it was upon the last two that they concentrated their forces. Both offered high, dry, chalky going, and a hinterland across which an advance might be carried at speed if the trench line could be broken. But it was less the nature of the terrain than their relationship to each other which recommended these battlefields to the French High Command. Grasping still after the decisive battle which he had been cheated of in 1914, Joffre insisted on seeing the Western Front as a theater of operations rather than the fortified position that it truly was. And if its central section, therefore, was a major salient, in that the front between Verdun and Vipers ran as a rough semicircle forming the upper loop of the whole S, a salient it was, with its northern route in Artois and its southern in Champagne. It was an illusion, however, soon to be demonstrated as such, that an attack on the major salient was the right strategy, or that the conventional method of dealing with a salient by simultaneous attacks on its routes would work in the circumstances of 1915. There are many reasons why not. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you guys come in. I was just reading a little bit of John Keegan's The Face of Battle. He was talking about the Somme in July 1st, 1916, which of course you know as World War I. World War I was a very different kind of war, trench warfare. You couldn't just line people up and run to each other, nor could you fight in squares like in Napoleon's time, when each square would operate as a unit, protecting the four corners of the square. With the addition of trenches and the machine guns that lined the trenches, suddenly opposing and moving armies were stopped. Marching was no longer a strategy for anything. The idea that you could attack the root or the source or anything of these trenches was impossible. The trenches stretched across the horizon, incredible fortifications, completely changed war until the tank came out and rolled right over the trenches. Until that point, we were at a complete stalemate with machine guns on one side and machine guns on the other side. I think this is a good metaphor for Congress today. We're going to talk about the hearing in a little bit, and I want you to keep this in mind, this 1915 idea, this idea of World War I, a wholly new kind of warfare, completely unrelated to anything we'd seen in the past. All of the old strategies didn't work. Everything that Joffre is saying is wrong. His idea of the major salient, his idea to attack the roots of the trench, wrong, wrong, wrong. His failure to see the entire continent as fortified, his failure to see the trenches as the new lines of the new war, wrong, wrong, wrong. And that's what I think Congress saw today. But we're going to go and talk about that in more detail, but I wanted to give you a nice quote to start off the show and a little historical perspective. This is Bitcoin Talk Show. Today is Wednesday, July 18th, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is up 1.68% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 7,436, a high of 7,535, and a low of 6,738. That's $1 for 13,441 Satoshis, nicely under that 15,000 Satoshi barrier that we've been struggling against for so long. I'm just about to start talking about the Congress hearing. I wanted to recognize again that my gift game is unparalleled, that there is no one on the planet who can stop my gift game. Look at this amazing, clearly Bitcoin on the moon being interrupted by what looks like perhaps Edgar Allan Poe or maybe Mark Twain speaking a train and a series of heavenly angels out of his mouth with lightning bolts and electricity. Truly the gift that sums up our time and our experience this morning before Congress. But we're joined by Andy Hoffman. Andy Hoffman, how's it going? Did you get a chance to watch the congressional hearing this morning?
Well, I just turned this on, and I got to tell you, I don't even know what hearing this is. What are they talking about?
Oh, it's going to be great. It was the Agriculture Committee, because naturally when you think Bitcoin, you think agriculture right away. And they had a variety of people. They had Miss Amber Balde with the purple hair. She speaks for some kind of startup company and managed to plug Zcash right in there. She said, oh, Venezuela, they're using Zcash. as she didn't mention she had a whole bag of it. But it was a super funny moment. They had a guy from the CFTC talking about whether Bitcoin should be a commodity or a not a currency, but something else. Security or a commodity. That's it. And so yeah, they went back and forth on that. I'm going to go through my notes. If you want, you can act shocked and be amazed at the things they said. Even if you didn't watch the hearing, I think you'll have some commentary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got into Bitcoin for agricultural blockchain too.
Me too. I had some farming difficulties, and I thought, new technology, new internet money, that's going to fix my farm. So we'll just go right into it. And it's okay, Andy, if you don't have that much to say. But I think you'll pretty much be on this issue anyway, because you have more experience than the people on the panel. And then after this, we'll go into a more what we had planned, which is the discussion of Bitcoin, rhodium, and just what's been going on recently. So everyone gives us a thumbs up and a share. Everybody stick in there. And if you guys want, after this, we might take some calls. I don't know how much time Andy has, but we'll probably talk about that congressional hearing some more. So if you really want to talk about it, stick in, stay on the show, and we'll get to your calls.
I can probably go till about 10:30 your time.
That sounds good. We should have time for at least a couple of calls. And then people, you have to be prepared. People are going to ask you questions directly, Andy. So you didn't hear that, but it's okay. You're ready. Okay. So let's see. It started out, I said I was trying to watch this Congress thing, but I wanted people at home to know that Bitcoin doesn't care. Real Bitcoin doesn't care. I think that's an important point to start this. They're regulating something, but they didn't invite that something to the hearing. Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, the actual technology, will never appear before Congress, and nothing Congress really says can change Bitcoin unless they take it over.
Yeah, so the thing that's funny about that is whether you like Ethereum or not, I really couldn't care less about it. The fact is, crypto is so powerful, and government is so powerless to regulate it, that they can't even figure out how to regulate Ethereum because it's too decentralized for them, let alone Bitcoin, which is the true meaning of the ether. It's invisible. They can't touch it. And if they can't touch Ethereum, which has centralized aspects, they'll never be able to touch. They or any government or any centralized entity will be able to touch or even modestly dent Bitcoin. Absolutely. And at this point, I started overhearing things from the convention that might not have actually happened. So I heard them say, let the Trojan horse of Bitcoin inside our walls and ignore the consequences. They also didn't say, we must act with utmost hubris at all times and assume that we can regulate Bitcoin and that it will be easy. Congress was on a roll this morning. As they said, they were only by interviewing major players from the world of big business and the girl with the purple hair can we understand how to regulate Bitcoin. So wait, so is this, usually when there's some kind of quote important congressional hearing regarding Bitcoin, we know about it. It was kind of like when they said, oh, they're having the SEC and the CFTC guys specifically talk about it, or they're going to discuss whether Ethereum's a security. What is this? I don't even know exactly what it is. This is just like, this is the first of two planned hearings for today. There's another one coming up. The other one is more in the Finance Committee. This one is just the Agriculture Committee. I'm not sure why they think they should be regulating this. I didn't catch the beginning of the hearing, if they had like a statement explaining why they're doing this. But it was just a bunch of very confused congressmen asking some slightly less confused business ladies and men and women questions about Bitcoin. So that's the most comical thing of all. I mean, when you think about it, think about the fact that I have somehow rose to some degree of prominence in the Bitcoin community when only a year ago I was working at a precious metal dealer, just kind of writing some articles. And my background is not in the slightest bit technology oriented. It's all finance. I have no idea, to this day exactly how this works. And 99% of the people will never know. And yet I am somehow considered an expert when I know nothing. And then you talk about people, like you say, congressmen who are politicians and their only job is to schmooze or be lawyers. And businessmen whose job is to take care of their businesses. And you think that they are actually going to try to figure out what Bitcoin is, let alone how to, quote, regulate it? I agree, Andy. And especially, I don't want to be too critical of Amber Balday. And I don't want to, I was referring to as the girl with purple hair so as not to name her and make this less
an attack on her, but she said some very ridiculous things today before Congress, and we're going to have no choice but to cover those things because she said them before Congress. So nothing personal, but yeah, she's been in Bitcoin, I think, a year or two, and she's an expert before Congress. So Andy, you're very qualified in this arena, which again is horrifying. Like, I mean, you're very new. I'm very new. I didn't write Bitcoin. You know, we shouldn't be. You know, but again, we're more qualified than the people they took to Congress today.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the world of early adopters. Look, my career has been about working in industries that I know nothing about technically. I worked in the oil field service industry. I worked in the mining industry, the bullion industry, and of course this. I mean, my background is finance, and the goal is to just try to talk to the smart people and learn from them and get enough information from them to make an informed decision. And the early adopters are the ones who are the first people to do that. Eventually, everyone uses the internet without knowing how it works, and eventually everyone will use Bitcoin without knowing or caring how it works.
And I do think this is going to come up later. It is a lot about smart people versus dumb people, people that can make their own decisions, take in new information, but not be overtaken by the information. That's critical thinking. That's something that we're teaching here. That's something that you all have. You can all make your own choices and decisions. A lot of people have outsourced their decisions. They're following a guru, and the guru tells them how to think. And it's way easier than thinking because you don't have to do any work. But it's very dangerous because if the guru is wrong, you're screwed because you're not thinking. You're just, you know, blindly following. So.
Well, that's what I've watched my whole career. And I mean, people follow me now and realize I talk about this all the time. You know, for one, I talk about the good, smart people who know what they're talking about and have your best interests at heart. And most of these people you're talking about don't have one, and many don't have both. And again, you know, what sells, I've seen this forever, especially in precious metals. It's a good microcosm for Bitcoin. It's a small community of investors. It's pretty isolated from the mainstream. And what happens is people come in and claim to know something that you don't know. People, you know, like when I just have like my blog, it gets a modest following because, you know, what am I doing? I'm talking about facts. No, people want to be told that someone knows something that will guarantee to make the money. They want to be told that the web bot can scour the internet for clues, or that technical analysis will guarantee a price will move up or down. Proprietary, that word, people say, I have proprietary technical analysis, or I have proprietary information, or I know about a conspiracy that you don't know about that's going to help you make money because it's guaranteed. This is what, as Adam Meister would call them, the 80%ers want. They want to be told, as you say, what the truth is, when the fact is there's no way of knowing how the future will play out. And your best chance at doing well in that future is by doing your own due diligence and using the critical thinking you're talking about.
Well, I think we'll get into this more, but it's especially more embarrassing when these people have been wrong so many times, not only about Bitcoin, but about every single altcoin.
It's called charisma and demagoguery. It works.
It does. It really does. And it's frustrating from the outside because people have even written articles, like my friend Rhett Creighton, who wrote a Medium post. And, you know, obviously we're talking about Tone here and, you know, not letting it out. But he wrote a Medium post about Tone, and he said if you had invested $10,000 in everything that he hated, every time he did a crypto scam episode, you'd be up like $80,000. Like every single thing except one coin went up. And one coin you couldn't even buy on the open markets. You had to, you know, go through their scam. These are just facts. I mean, you know. I mean,
I know people. You like you set up a softball. People want me to say like some horrible thing. Look, go on Twitter if you want to see the trolling. But the fact is, the bigger picture of what I don't like in this particular case is the underestimation of what Bitcoin is, and frankly, the underestimation of cryptocurrency in general. Anyone who's bet against it due to technical analysis has gotten slaughtered. And frankly, people who have bet against it due to fundamental analysis in many cases have got slaughtered. Just to come around all day long and saying that everything is going to collapse and even the Bitcoin price is going to collapse, but Bitcoin will turn around, but everything else will collapse. No, to me, I wrote one of my first articles at CGC, and I'm approaching my 1-year anniversary. It was called, you can go on it and see it. It was called Trillions Will Enter the Cryptocurrency Space, Likely Half in Bitcoin. And that was before the altcoins really went crazy, because my thought was simply, look, we're gonna, if this is a digital age dominated by a new monetary digital currency, there's going to be a huge periphery around it. I mean, the world's going to change. People stop using stocks and bonds and currencies, or use them a lot less, and they're going to start using all kinds of digital assets many of which will fail or not do well, and some of which will be gigantic winners. It's no different than the internet. I mean, most of the internet companies, whether the public ones or the private ones, failed or didn't do well, and a handful were the biggest winners of all time. And the same thing will occur here. It's not a matter of Bitcoin maximalism. I think it's been settled at this point that there's no chance that any cryptocurrency will ever have the opportunity to usurp Bitcoin's primary use case, which is to be the money of the world, or at least the money of those, the way that people store wealth in large amounts. But there's going to be so many other things out there, many of which haven't even been invented yet, in which there are going to be cryptocurrencies. And in many cases, it's like when they say, oh, it uses too much electricity. Yeah, because it's replacing what the banks are going to be are used right now. Just like all these new cryptocurrencies are going to probably replace stocks and bonds and currencies. So that, just to be negative for the sake of being negative, which by the way is a great way to get followers and it's a great way to sell subscriptions, it's not going to help you to make money. The way to make money in this case is the biggest no-brainer of all time, which is to simply hodl Bitcoin, especially when you see at this $100 billion market cap level, which I've been talking about forever, massive amount of support. It was what made it break out. It was what made the crypto hedge funds come in. It was what made the CME futures be allowed, and what's going to make the ETFs be allowed. And it's where the institutions have been lying in wait every time it goes down. The Bitcoin network is stronger than ever. It's getting stronger every day. The hash rate is getting stronger. The competition is dying. I mean, dying in terms of trying to actually compete with Bitcoin. I don't think there really is any left. And the use case around the world is exploding. And I keep talking, look, who's more bullish about precious metals than me? Precious metals have died. I mean, we're talking about plunging to multi-year lows. People are buying Bitcoin, and people are going to be selling. The older people are going to be inheriting or passing on their precious metals to younger people who are going to sell it for Bitcoin. And then the corporations are these people in Congress and these businessmen, they're all going to learn up on it and get educated, and they're going to buy Bitcoin, and they're going to create new cryptocurrencies. So being negative is the last thing you want to do in cryptocurrency right now, and the last thing that you ever want to do against Bitcoin.
I would agree. Being negative is a good strategy and does gain people a lot of followers. It's also easy to do. It doesn't require any thinking. Whatever the new thing is, you hate it. Oh, there's a new thing. I hate it. That's it.
Or you're a conspiracy theorist and you say something terrible is going to happen that I know about, because people gravitate to it. They think that if they know it, that they're going to get wealthy at everyone else's expense. It just doesn't work that way.
And at the same time, you need to cover something horrible might happen, but something good might happen, and I'm keeping mine long anyway. No skin in the game, no interaction, you're not on the same level as a person if they're not having skin in the game. It's an important part of that.
Oh, absolutely, especially someone who says they trade, but they won't trade Bitcoin. Look, I mean, I've said forever, people associate gold and silver with doom porn, and like Adam brought it up today, and I said, no, I mean, when I was buying it, and owning it and talking about it, wasn't for that reason. Yes, if you have terrible scenarios, yes, that's going to be good for safe haven assets. But the primary reason was about inflation. And frankly, the primary reason to own Bitcoin is for good reasons. It's not because I think the world is going to collapse. And the best part of Bitcoin is that I used to actually believe there was no way out of the fiat currency system other than a catastrophic financial event like 2008, but worse. But because of Bitcoin, I, who am a very pessimistic, skeptical person, no longer believe that that is required to happen. I do believe there's a chance that Bitcoin can at least mitigate the worst case scenario and maybe even prevent it from ever happening.
Now, I did a show the other day called Why Bitcoin Maximalism? And I talked about what I think you're talking about here, that there's a larger reason for Bitcoin. It's not so much that I hate the altcoins, it's just they're not as important to me as having sound money. And having sound money is this whole entire planet changing thing. And it's going to be different. And some of the changes will be good and some of the changes will be bad. And we have to roll with that. That's adaptation. But the goal of sound money is so much bigger than the goal of smart contracts or gambling or I don't know what Litecoin is, making a copy of Bitcoin, calling it silver. Whatever your goal is for these other cryptocurrencies or utility tokens or Amazon coins, trading with eBay coins on a massive market with 1,000 other coins, that's not as important as sound money to me. So that's why Bitcoin's important. What would you say, Andy?
Well, I mean, what has my whole career been based on? Sound money. I went into precious metals in 2002, spent 15 years there, and became one of the leading commentators, as well as being all in personally and professionally. So yeah, I mean, sound money has been my life, and that's why, of course, I got into Bitcoin. And in the early stages of Bitcoin, it was easy to be, quote, maximalist because, well, one, there were barely any altcoins around until last year. And two, there wasn't really this. It was all about the scaling debate and whether Bitcoin could even survive, let alone these other ones that just came in out of nowhere. But as time has gone on, as I've seen the boom and the bust, and we see that the altcoins are still around, and we see the Bitcoin network is stronger than ever, and all the use cases around of traditional things that badly need replacement, it just makes you just look at it in a little different way. I was talking about it on my one-on-one with Simon Dixon last week, who, in my mind, Simon Dixon might be the smartest man in all of Bitcoin as far as a commentator. And he said, look, Bitcoin maximalism refers to sound money. That's it. That's what Bitcoin maximalism is. It's the only cryptocurrency that has a chance to be sound money. In the way that I've said, it's the only one that has a chance to be the wealth storage device of the rich and powerful, and at the same time, a potential cornerstone of future monetary regimes. There's no other cryptocurrency that ever could do that or would even try to do it. Everything else has nothing to do with maximalism. Everything has to do with building a digital age in which there are all different kinds of cryptocurrencies and other kinds of digital assets used for various things. There'll be niches. We'll talk about rhodium in a second. I wrote an article a while ago that said cryptocurrencies versus securities. Some of them are plain and simple, just modern day securities to replace stocks and bonds. They will find a niche in which investors will find them valuable. It has nothing to do with, oh, they're competing with Bitcoin. Oh, they'll never be as secure. They'll never be sound money. No, all these other things are not going to try to be sound money. Bitcoin won that war already. It won it last year against Bcash. It won it against all the hard forks and all the governments that tried to stop it and couldn't do it. That's over. It will never be challenged. And it's very comforting to own Bitcoin as a, quote, Bitcoin maximalist, knowing that you cannot be stopped. But that said, it doesn't mean that nothing else will exist. That's ridiculous. I'm looking forward to seeing what will exist. And I also know, especially, a lot of people who are, quote, Bitcoin maximalists, they don't realize that everyone doesn't think that way. There are millions of people around the world who are into crypto for all different reasons. Some of them are pure speculation. Some of them are, they think that they can do other things with them. And it has nothing to do with competing with Bitcoin. So me personally, I am a risk-averse person who is focused on sound money. But there are many other people who are focused on entrepreneurship, on business opportunities, and on speculation.
Now, it's funny because this morning, Congress, or at least one of the congressmen, attempted to define Bitcoin maximalism as Bitcoin optimism. And those are very different words. Maximalism, I think, says that Bitcoin will be the most useful one, that because it's the most useful, it will be built upon the rest of the updates, everything, the money will all go to Bitcoin because it's the most useful. It's the utilitarian value of it. And I would agree with you, while my heart is 99% Bitcoin and maybe 1% altcoins, the rest of me isn't sure. Previously, I invested with logic, right? I looked at Ethereum. It was a crowd sale. They had no product. I was right there watching the countdown clock tick away. And I said, they can also print infinite number of units. I don't understand why they have to do gas and then ether, why they can't just sell the gas directly. All these things were in my mind, so I didn't invest. And it was, in hindsight, at least right now, still, it was a horrible decision. Could have made millions of dollars easily on nothing. You mentioned the venture capitalists. The venture capitalists, I've been told, they have a strategy. They'll invest in 10 companies. And if one of those companies becomes Uber, it doesn't matter if the other 9 fail. So in this way, I've been saying to people recently for like the last 3 or 4 months, they should try investing some of their money in these crazy altcoins. Even something like taking $1,000, putting $100 in each one of the top 10. I don't even care what the top 10 are. We're just betting on hype here. It's not, Bitcoin has my heart and technology and logic and all those things. That doesn't always go up as fast as hype. So I've been telling people openly, it's okay to bet on these altcoins. It's okay to try them out. In your heart, you can still be all Bitcoin. But if you want to accidentally make money on some of this hype, you can buy low, you can sell high. As long as you do, if you're too greedy, if you're too much in love with these coins, you hold them too long, you might get totally wrecked. But again, you take the risk, you get the reward. Low risk, low reward. High risk, high reward. Also, high chance of getting wrecked. We've never had, I mean, I've always been critical of altcoins. I say Litecoin's a good test net for Bitcoin. It was especially valuable during SegWit because we had a political situation that wasn't allowing the upgrade to go through. The upgrade was fine and it was tested fine on the testnet. The only reason we needed a second testnet was for political reasons. I don't know that that's going to happen again with Litecoin. I don't know what a lot of these other coins are useful for, but it was always Tone Vays who was calling things a scam. I didn't disagree with him. There are scammy aspects to a lot of these altcoins, things like pre-mines, things like founders rewards, all these kind of things, pretty scammy. Or the way that they announce it, when they announce it, if they actually mine the pre-mine, you know, actually mined pre-mine, these kind of things. There's a lot of really questionable things in these altcoins, and I don't mind Tone pointing them out as scams. I think a lot of these people are involved in a scam, but they don't know it. Or they're involved in a scam and they've convinced themselves that they're not involved in a scam, so they sound like they're telling the truth. A lot of people have bags full of altcoins and they're out promoting them. So we don't have a loyalty oath here. We're not against that. So let's go ahead and we'll just move into this rhodium topic. And Andy, let me just comment on the technology, and you have the right to do that, and I'm fine with that. And yeah, I probably think you're wrong. I'm probably let me just disagree with you, but I mean, we're going to go for it. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me just comment on what you're saying. You made some great points. And first of all, I don't get this optimism means maximalism. That makes no sense. So in fact, the biggest maximalist in the
Congress, yeah.
Yeah, and the biggest maximalist of all, who we're just talking about right now, I call him the emperor of negativity. That's, in fact, the people who are known as the biggest Bitcoin maximalists are as the most negative people I know in the whole sector. He's one of them. There's two others I talk about all the time, and all they want to do is talk about how everything is going to crash and fail and only Bitcoin will survive. And it makes me angry. It almost makes me root for the altcoins. And I am rooting for the altcoins because altcoins are or I should say cryptocurrency in general, is usurping the legacy system. The real things that people should be angry at are the stocks and the bonds. That's where the 1% have stolen the wealth of the 99% and done incredibly terrible things with it and created debt and inflation and wealth inequality. You know, cryptocurrency is the future. Root for it. And don't worry, Ethereum and Bcash, they're not going to take over Bitcoin. We know that now. So just be happy if they do well. No, not Bcash, but pretty much anything else. And as far as, you know, this whole thing with scam, you know, I mean, like pre-mine is a perfect example right there. And first of all, what's any different about what goes on in cryptocurrency than on Wall Street? The difference being that Wall Street does all this criminality with regulation. At least in cryptocurrency, it's being done in the Wild West. I mean, I was in Wall Street for 25 years. It's no different. It's just that they have regulators who themselves are corrupt. But, you know, pre-mine is a perfect example. And people say, I hate pre-mined, it's a scam. I go, why? I mean, that's like saying that someone who creates a company and takes it public should not be allowed to own stock in the company. You shouldn't be allowed to own the company or have a stake in it because it should be like a social experiment. In which case, why would someone do it? Like, why would, for instance, the creators of rhodium create rhodium if they couldn't get paid for it? I mean, the goal is to get wealthy. It's called capitalism. And pre-mines are for two things. They are to pay the people who are creating it and to build it, like market it and all kinds of things like that. So I don't get the pre-mine. Now, look, as you said, there's all kinds of aspects of the financing process and the operational process that are scam-like. But for instance, you know, he particularly talks about Steam, right? I mean, I've been using Steam forever. I think Steam's amazing. I can't imagine what anyone would think was a scam. You mean because someone created and gave himself a lot of it? Great. You don't have to buy it. I mean, you get it for free if you post good content. And then guess what? You can sell your Steam at the market price, which at one point was very high, and right now it's lower. And you get the content. You don't have the Google, you know, that's censoring you or demonetizing you. Why is that a scam? But it comes out, it's a scam, it's a scam, it's a scam. Everything is not a scam. That's a way you get followers, as we say. But it doesn't mean everything is a scam. It just means that there's all kinds of different investments out there. Some of them are incredibly risky simply because they are inherently risky. Some are incredibly risky because they may be scams. But everything is not a scam. And in this brand new exploding world of cryptocurrencies, you're going to have the wide range of risk reward going from Bitcoin, which has by far the best risk reward ratio, to the BitConnects, which have the worst because they are scams, to everything else, which is somewhere in the middle.
There's a lot of stuff to unpack there, but I think I'll go backwards. So with Steemit, I don't think it's a scam, but I think it's very complicated, and I definitely think they printed their own money.
Oh, they
so
did.
We have to, yeah.
But people think it's valuable. It's not like a Ponzi scheme where they're selling it to people and it's going to eventually go bankrupt. People know what it is, and it is what it is. I mean, the beauty of it is that as a user, you can get paid it for free, and that's the end of it. As a speculator, I'm not sure why it would be any more of a scam than anything else. It's highly speculative. When people believe that Steemit is going to do well, or that buying up the cryptos, it gets very valuable. And when they don't, it gets very unvaluable. It went from 1 to 15 to 1. You can make or lose money, but it's not like it's a Ponzi scheme and one day it'll be gone like BitConnect. It's a business model which may or may not work. But to label it a scam is ridiculous. I think it's fantastic. Frankly, I think that it has a chance at having huge market share gains against YouTube in time, but we'll see. Who knows?
Well, I do think it's good for content creators because you get paid. But for the people that are actually buying the Steemit, they're buying it so that their vote will be more valuable. I wasn't sure how many people would do that, how many people would pay actual money they had to work for to get their vote to be more valuable. And if that dries up, then there's no one to pay the content creators.
I agree with that. I mean, it is ridiculously complex. I wouldn't put myself in a position to have my money on the line trying to figure out if someone else has a higher vote than me or stealing the vote. The fact is, it's an incredibly speculative cryptocurrency, which can go from 1 to 15 and 15 to 1 in the blink of an eye. And I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, I think the platform is legit. But yeah, you can buy it at 15 and watch it go to 1. You could also buy it at 1 and watch it go to 15 cents. Or you could buy it at 15 cents and watch it go to $15. There's just no way of knowing. And I would never, ever recommend that anyone bought something like that. That's why I've only bought and recommended Bitcoin. It's the best risk reward. But in time, there will be others that have better risk rewards.
So, I think it's complicated and it's nuanced, but you can be kind of against buying Steemit, or at least neutral, and at the same time make content on Steemit and get paid for it and then cash that out. I mean, it's really complicated. It's about whether, I think some people have this absolutist view that you have to be all or nothing. You have to hate Steemit and burn it down, or you have to love Steemit and promote it. And I think there's also room for a neutral ground, because like you're saying, I've posted things on Steemit. I earned enough money to live 3 to 6 months in San Francisco thanks to Steemit. Unfortunately, it was just for a welcome post. I couldn't get that kind of action on my normal posts. But so it goes. People make their choices about what they want to vote.
It's a popularity contest.
Absolutely.
It is, I mean, like in YouTube, every vote is a vote. In this one, everyone is not. So, I mean, if you can, it's a game. If you can angle it that someone wants to pay you, there were times where people wanted to pay me a lot, and now they want to pay me almost nothing, and I really have no control over it. But look, it's just, look, again, cryptocurrency is still as risky as can be. Even Bitcoin, with the great risk return profile, still is risky as an investment. That's why we hodl it, because we know it's not going anywhere and it's only going to get stronger. And everything else is much more risky, but there's going to be plenty of winners out there. It's just a matter of what kind of risks you want to take.
And it's much harder to do anything when everything's a scam. I kind of wanted to get into Steemit. I wanted to write more and promote it and talk about it, but I was hanging out with Tone and the rest of the crew, and they hate everything, and that rubs off on you. I don't exactly hate everything. I'm critical of everything. I'm wary. I'm cautious. I walk in slowly. I'm not certain of anything ever, really. But I think that's a good way to be, and that these other people are very absolutist, and they're absolutists that they hate everything, and it's an easy position to come from. So let's move on from. Go ahead.
The perfect not correlation. The perfect what's the word? What I lived in my prior life. I worked in mining stocks. I owned mining stocks, precious metal mining stocks, and I worked for precious metal mining companies and other mining companies from 2000. I owned those miners from 2002 to 11. I worked for them from 2006 to 11. In some cases, I was an actual officer of a company. In other cases, I worked for investor relations companies. And of course, over that time, I owned many of them. So yeah, I mean, if you want the best risk reward, you buy gold. Gold doesn't go anywhere. It's like the equivalent of Bitcoin. It has you know, its issues, but it's never going anywhere. It's never going to collapse, be a Ponzi scheme, anything. Miners are a different story. It's exactly like the altcoins. There are some of them that are all out scams. There was that famous one, BRIX is a perfect example, where it was an actual scam where they stole the money, and there were many others like it. It was so bad that the Vancouver Stock Exchange changed its name to the TSX Venture because it has such a stigma from having so many of them. And it's generally an industry that's ripe for it because the way they calculate their findings is open to subjectivity, and there's a lot of shady people out there, and the banks, the way they finance it. So there's all kinds of things that border from scams to just failed businesses. And there's also, I met in that time an incredible amount of extremely diligent, hardworking, well-intentioned people who failed. And then, of course, there were some con artists who got things to do well. So it's no different. That industry is as close to the Wild West of what crypto is. The big difference is that that industry, precious metal mining, peaked in 2007, and since then it's been in a bear market. With the exception of this bear market we've had here in the last few months, you know, crypto isn't a bull market, and it will again be in a major bull market, and it's going to float a lot of boats as opposed to mining stocks, which for years were floated when there was a bull market, and then they went down. So, you know, it has to be taken into context that what's going on in crypto is not a heck of a lot different than we've seen in many other sectors. There's less regulation, but, you know, there's going to be more regulation, even if it's internal regulation in time, because in time, ICOs are going to replace stocks and bonds, but it will be a much different world where when people are buying them or they're selling them, they'll know what to expect.
And I think ICOs replacing stocks and bonds moved into, well, what I want to talk about next, which was the pre-mine. Previously, when coins had a pre-mine, I think one of the things we'd say about them is that's an illegal security, because it was very clear to say that the founders of Ethereum, they benefited from launching the Ethereum crowd sale. Whether or not they had any product or any utility tokens is not an issue at that time. It's crowd sale, they're benefiting, it's a security. Now we're in a strange new world where Ethereum and Bitcoin are not securities because they're too big to fail or too big to regulate, something like that. And maybe pre-mines are okay now. So what do you think about that, Andy, that previously pre-mines were a sign of an illegal security, and now, for all we know, it's perfectly okay?
Right. Well, I just gave my initial comments. I have no problem with pre-mines at all. Without them, I don't think we'd have an altcoin industry, and we wouldn't have an IPO industry in the stock market if you weren't allowed to, you know, hold back stock for yourself. I mean, why would you even create it in the first place? Now, as for Ethereum, again, I'm no tech guy. I don't know if Ethereum is going to collapse, or it's going to explode, or it's going to get taken out or beaten by a competitor like Cardano or EOS. I couldn't tell you. I'm guessing probably not. It's probably not going to get passed because, like Bitcoin, it's got such an enormous lead. It will be pretty impressive if someone could come along and just steal that business model, but it could happen. But no, Ethereum's not too big to fail. It's just it is too big to regulate. It is now a decentralized security, even if, you know, the way it's traded, even if there are people who make decisions for it. And, you know, as far as one day it had pre-mine in the past, well, look, people created it and they wanted to make money like Vitalik, and they did. So what's the problem? I don't understand. I mean, it's not like Vitalik has used it for evil. I mean, it has in many ways created bad things, but that's not what his intention was. Heck, even Roger Ver, I don't think he intended when he initially created Bcash to use it for evil, but he quickly did. And frankly, thankfully, it didn't do anything because Bitcoin is too strong. But look, if you can get yourself big enough that Congress can't even touch you, good. And if you were one of the people smart enough like Vitalik to create it, and I'm not saying I'm agreeing or disagreeing with the kind of things he says or does, well, good for him. Pre-mine absolutely doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is scams. But a pre-mine is not a scam. A pre-mine is the necessary part of creating a company or an asset. It's simple. They've been abused, but it doesn't mean it's a scam because you have it.
I think that's a perfectly valid position to say that pre-mine's not a scam. Also to say that previously we thought pre-mine was a sign of an illegal security. And if you were trying to run as an illegal security, that could be seen as a scam. But I think that's the roots of that. I also wanted to go back to the idea of Bitcoin maximalism. There is this idea of the S curve, and that eventually Bitcoin will start going straight up. And if Bitcoin goes up 1,000% yesterday, and it goes up 1,000% today, and if it goes up 1,000% tomorrow, pretty soon everyone's going to dump all of their altcoins, even if they love them. Even if they love Ethereum, they have the T-shirt, they have the everything, the tattoo, whatever. They're going to dump them to go to Bitcoin because Bitcoin's going up 1,000%. So there is this maximalist S-curve idea, and that's the reason not to buy the altcoins, because you'd be in that maximalist S-curve.
Well, I think that those days are over. I think, honestly, the only way, I mean, yes, you could come up with scenarios where that would happen. You know, like, I mean, we did have that in December where Bitcoin was going up. The others were collapsing.
There's still a domino effect of central banks, a domino effect of normal banks, a domino effect of countries. This could happen quickly. They all start betraying each other. They all start buying Bitcoin. We're off to the races, and one Bitcoin suddenly becomes a country level wealth rather than a few $1,000s. So.
Well, and again, we're all just using crystal balls, but I would guess that there's really only, I can only think of one event that would cause true Bitcoin maximalism to return, meaning everyone would dump altcoins. Take a guess what it is. It just came to mind. What do you think I'm thinking?
The U.S. government accepts Bitcoin for taxes.
Well, no, because that would be good for crypto in general. No, it would be if Ethereum collapsed. Like if we woke up tomorrow and the Ethereum blockchain was massively hacked and Ethereum was down to like $2, that would cause a panic. Look, I don't know if it would help Bitcoin initially, but ultimately it would absolutely destroy the altcoin industry for years to come. That's an event.
That also shows the pressure on these altcoin coders. If they make a mistake on Ethereum and they blow up the thing, they could blow up the whole altcoin market, and it could flood back to Bitcoin, which is less likely to have those mistakes because it's more people, more coders, more structure.
But Ethereum too has a lot of coders now. It's way past that immaturity stage. I mean, there's many altcoins that still have that risk. Many that have like one developer or only a handful that make mistakes. But even those mistakes, I look at all these 51% attacks and I see, you know, they'll just correct them. They'll figure out how to correct these things. It's new technology. But yeah, that could happen. But I kind of doubt it. I kind of think that they find that out by hook or crook. Would that be, you know, good for Bitcoin maximalism? I don't necessarily know that. I think Bitcoin, if you found that out, would probably be $20,000 tomorrow morning. But I also think that all the other cryptos would too, because it would kind of be seen as an endorsement for crypto in general. Remember, the more people that buy crypto and trade in crypto, the stronger all of their networks get. So it would have to be something that would make people think the altcoin industry is going to die rather than that the Bitcoin industry is going to get stronger. And I just, you know, aside from, like I just said, like Ethereum collapsed, which is not going to happen, I just don't see why. Again, it's this whole thing with the optimalism, maximalism. No, I want altcoins to do well. I want crypto to take over the legacy financial system, and again, you know, people diversify. I was talking about with Adam, whether you're a BlackRock or a crypto hedge fund or a billionaire that decides they need to put a percentage in, they're not just going to buy Bitcoin. They're going to buy a little of each. That's what people do. That's what investors do. That's what venture capitalists do. And the goal is going to be the best ones, the ones that people want to put the most money in. So I think we're beyond the days where the altcoin industry as a whole is going to die. It's just a matter of, will there be periods? Like, let's say Japan did say we bought 50,000 Bitcoin. Will that mean that Bitcoin dominance on coin market cap will go from 43% to 60% in a couple of months? I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I don't think it'll be at the expense of the altcoins. I think the altcoins will do just fine if a major country decides to buy Bitcoin. All
right, for this next section, I want to ask you some very hard questions, and I hope you'll answer me truthfully. And if it is a hard answer, I hope you'll just give it to me. But Andy, let's just be straight up here. Are you working for Bitcoin Rhodium, or are you being paid by Bitcoin Rhodium?
No, it has nothing to do with paid or not. I received free Bitcoin Rhodium because I'm a Bitcoin holder and it's a crypto dividend. And as a result, I have the ability, you know, because of who I am, to you know, build a community around it. And I've talked about it forever. I've been writing articles about it. I'm active in their Discord community on Twitter. And I mean, it's not a matter of getting paid or not. It's a matter of trying to spread the word of something that in spending 6 or 7 months on the Discord chat rooms, talking to these anonymous developers and the people in the community, that I believe in it. And it's funny because people have asked, well, are you getting paid, or he's getting paid? And I'm thinking, Well, what if I was? What does that have to do with it? Read what I say, listen to what I say, and decide if you like it. And if you have more questions, then ask the developers, ask other people. Why would it matter if I was? But no, the reason I'm so into rhodium is because I got it for free. And I believe it has the chance to be something very, very valuable.
All right, and just to be clear, we're not doing any parsing language or anything. You're not consulting for them. You're not. They're not paying you through an intermediary. There's not. They're paying you Bitcoin, or some big Bitcoin rhodium guy bought you a car. There's no kind of monetary thing going on here.
No, they're not a company. They're developers building a coin. That's all. And I'm trying to help them build something because I think that I have the ability to help them do that.
Okay, that seems perfectly valid. And then for this next section, I wanted to kind of give you the floor and help you make a best case scenario for Bitcoin rhodium. Right. What is Bitcoin rhodium? Why is it good? Anything else you want to tell me about Bitcoin rhodium? I'll try to write it down too, so we have a nice outline of what's going on.
Right, and people in it like to call it rhodium. It comes from the fact that it originally was derogatory. Yet be gold and be cash. No one wants to use the word Bitcoin because it seems like they're competing. But yes, the official name is Bitcoin rhodium. We call it rhodium, and the fact is, it's not a Bitcoin fork. That's another thing that we'll talk about in a second. And again, I have to emphasize here again, the reason that I've done this is I'm trying to help build a community around something that I think will be very valuable. And that community is comprised of people who have gotten it for free. And that needs to be, you're talking about what do people need to know? Need to know that the people talking about it are people who have already received it in this airdrop. Now, why I think it's so great is because, again, my background is on Wall Street. I spent 25 years on Wall Street. I'm still in Wall Street in a way. That's what I do. I analyze financial markets and I look for what people want. That's why I'm so open to altcoins. Not necessarily that I need to own them and market all of them, just that I understand that there's going to be use cases that investors will find valuable. Now, in this particular case, as we know, we had the big crypto dividend phase right after SegWit and Bcash, and people went crazy creating all these forks. And most of the new altcoins are in some ways some kind of fork. Either they were created by an Ethereum token or some way either forked or copied from the Bitcoin code, which is, I guess, fine in some ways. But for the most part, they are viewed as clones of Bitcoin. I mean, when that's how I look, I see things like Diamond and Gold and Bcash, and I'm going, why would anyone want to own any of these things? They are literally just trying to copy Bitcoin. Now, in this particular case, these developers who are, again, they're anonymous. They are English speaking. I believe they're from Europe. So it's very helpful on the Discord chat room when you can have someone who speaks English and speaks it well, to answer your questions. They created their own blockchain. And now the airdrop actually was back in December. So it's taken a very, very long time to do this, as opposed to these forks, including Bcash, which were created overnight because copying the Bitcoin code is not too difficult to do. But these guys said, we are going to start our own blockchain, and we're going to do it from scratch. We're going to pick the type of mining algorithm. We're going to be very specific about the features. We're going to take months and months in the testnet to make sure everything's perfect. And we're going to do our best to market it as something that's different. We're also going to be the first. It's not the first airdrop. I mean, there was the Bitcore airdrop. I'm told there was a Stellar Lumens one. There was a couple of them here and there. But this is the first significant coin, and it will be significant in valuation, to be distributed entirely via airdrop to Bitcoin holders. And yes, there is a pre-mine of a small percentage of the thing, but for the most part, it's Bitcoin holders that have it. And the process was unwieldy because it was new. The only real basis I had or anyone had was if they did like the Bitcore with signing messages. But, that'll be perfected too. And by the end of this claiming process, everyone is well aware of how it works. And the people who have it, It's done. It's in their wallets right now. They don't need to get it split. They don't need Trezor to do it. They don't need an exchange like would be private. They just have it now. And what they did is they've taken the best features of Bitcoin. The scarcity is the primary one because there's only 1/10 of the supply, and actually it'll be less than 1/10 of the supply because not all of the rhodium was claimed. There was almost 300,000 that was not claimed. So in total, there'll be, when it comes out, probably the next month or two, I'm guessing, probably about 725,000 will be available. And the most it'll ever get to will probably be somewhere around 2 million, and that'll take 100 years to get to. So it will be a very scarce coin held principally by big Bitcoin holders with no incentive to sell. It will have the privacy features. It will, I mean, they are doing their best to create as secure a coin as they can, which shouldn't be a problem if it's just going to be used for hodling. And you know, to me, it's something that I think, especially because the quote competition are all these garbage forks that kind of shot themselves in the foot. I think that when it comes out, especially at a time where there's been really no altcoin creation for a while, and it has this big community behind it, I think it has the ability to be priced at least as much in market cap as all these forks, and perhaps a lot more.
Okay, so it's really scarce. It's going to have a smaller market cap than Bitcoin, a smaller number of units available, only 2.1 million instead of 21 million. You say it has privacy features. Did they have any kind of technical details on these privacy features? Did they start the coin in a weird way like Zcash, where they had to smash a laptop or something?
No, you can go to...
Go ahead.
You can go to bitcoinrh.org. What is it? I'm sorry, get the exact... It is... bitcoinrh.org, and they'll have everything. And in fact, there's a testnet.bitcoinrh.org where you could see the testnet, which has been going for a month now. No, they haven't even, I don't think they've even put the privacy features in yet, because it's kind of like with Bitcoin. You know, right now they're worried more about scaling. Privacy will come in time. I don't think privacy is going to be that necessary for something that's principally hodled. And unlike Bitcoin, probably will never be used for anything other than hodling.
Okay, yes, so you say the use is hodling. How is that a usage? So the goal is not to have merchants use this. The goal is not remittances or lightning payments or anything like that.
No.
How is the goal used for hodling?
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you see like I pick on BGold or Bcash. We're going to add Lightning Network and stuff. No one's going to use Bitcoin forks for Lightning Network transactions, or even Bcash for that. No, you know, with those, they really have to create a marketing scheme because they're trying to create a use case that doesn't exist. In the case of Bitcoin Rhodium, they have the scarcity that all these other ones don't. And when people say, "Oh yeah, well someone else will replicate it," no, there is a first mover. There's a first mover advantage that in this particular case was really aided by this bear market, because they were able to do this while everyone else is just sitting like a deer in headlights. It's not going to be like you can just create more and more and more of these. Sometimes being first is meaningful, especially when you do create a big community of Bitcoin whales that is going to support it. I can't guarantee no one else will do that, but look, and again, I can't guarantee it'll be like that forever. I'm saying that right now, when it comes out, I believe that people are going to look at it and go, well, look, Bitcoin is great for storage of value, but it is very expensive, and I'd prefer not to own just, you know, 0.1 or 0.05 of them. And this coin has got these unique values. It is held by very strong hands from the Bitcoin community, with a development community. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been dealing with these developers for a long time. These people are hardworking, smart, diligent about every detail. They're creating something that people want. And so again, I'm not saying that forever, like 30 years from now, rhodium will still be the premier wealth storage niche asset. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I just believe that right now, the goal of the developers was to create something honestly and transparently that investors want. And I'm telling you, I'm not just saying this, I'm telling you as a guy who's been on Wall Street for my entire life, and someone who's very, very attuned to what's going on in crypto, that people can hate me all they want for saying it. I'm telling you, when it gets launched, people are going to want it. And it's not going to be because Andy Hoffman said you should buy it. I'm just telling you that it's going to be, look, the value of these crappy forks. I can't emphasize enough the hatred I have for, look, BGold was done honestly, as opposed to Private, which was a scam. Diamond, who knows what this garbage is, Super Bitcoin, Lightning Bitcoin. These things have market caps of $300, $400, $500 million, and they literally do nothing. rhodium will have a market cap at least as much as all these things. It may even have a bigger market cap than BGold, which is the biggest of all of them initially. I'm not even sure, but I'm talking about this snapshot in time. That's what people will be interested in right now, especially if we are in a bull market phase for crypto. If the market crashes down to 1,300, well, no one will want anything. But I don't think that's going to happen. I see nothing in all my experience of dealing with, quote, management teams my whole life. There is absolutely nothing in the 8 months I've dealt with the rhodium team and the community that's been built in Discord that makes me think there's anything other than an honest attempt to create something that people will want. And people will want it. There's no doubt in my mind. It's like saying, I hate Ethereum. No one will want it. It's garbage. People want Ethereum. They still buy Ethereum. And I believe that right now, rhodium. In fact, I think that rhodium, because of its unique nature as the first big coin to have an airdrop, could inspire a whole new altcoin development phase where people look to do these things, which will be amazing for Bitcoin, because these airdrops are 1,000 times better than these horrible forks that you need to split as opposed to just claim. And so I think it's great for the whole cryptocurrency community, and it's particularly great for the people who did their diligence and worked through the airdrop to get it.
See, I'm not so sure here, Andy. I've seen a lot of altcoins before, and I've heard a lot of people say similar things to what you're saying. And I'm just not so sure that rhodium is going to have this instant value, or it's going to have this instant acceptance, or I'm not even sure what the reason is for it to exist. You say that there's this problem that people want to own 2 of something instead of 0.02 of something. And I've heard that said a lot of times, but we could just change the units on Bitcoin, right? We could change to bits or whatever people have said. The wallet could accept bits. You'd have the numbers in bits. Wouldn't changing Bitcoin to bits be a better solution than going to rhodium?
Well, for one, they're not going to change Bitcoin to bits anytime soon. But more importantly,
we would just imagine you and I forever now, we're going to say bits now. And you could just imagine you have 1,000 bits instead of a Bitcoin or whatever.
Yes, maybe the price gets to 20,000 and one of the big exchanges, let's pick one, Coinbase, says, you know what, it'll spur demand if we price it in a unit that's more palatable than $20,000 per coin. Yes. And then you could have others immediately follow it,
because then we get to keep the Bitcoin development team and the mailing list and the GitHub. And that right now, what you're basically going to try to say here is that the rhodium team is somehow like in the league of the Bitcoin development team or the GitHub. Like, do they have similar guys? I mean, is there like a PhD program at St. Petersburg focusing on this thing or something like that?
Here's the two biggest things. The one, of course, is this big pink elephant in the room that no one wants to address, is that there's trillions of dollars entering the space that diversifies. It's not all going to Bitcoin. We know that. We saw that when the rush of capital came in the fall and January, and we're going to see it time and again, especially when you do have successes where people are looking for other successes. People are not, even countries aren't just going to buy Bitcoin. If they're into buying Bitcoin, they'll buy a little Ethereum, they'll buy whatever is on the top.
Why would these trillions entering the space choose rhodium instead of, say, like EOS or Stellar?
Well, I mean, rhodium,
any other altcoin, right?
EOS and Stellar do completely different things. I mean, that's the beauty of diversification. It's not just about price. Use cases are different. But the biggest thing about rhodium, okay, number one, you want to know why I think people are going to gravitate to it? It's because of how it was distributed. People know it is tightly held. And I know that, it sounds like this elitist, I call it the Berkshire Hathaway of cryptocurrency. That's what I call it, elite Bitcoin, because you got basically 10 Bitcoin rhodium for every one Bitcoin that you had, with the maximum of 5,000. There was actually a bonus for the first several hundred people. You got another 500. So the people that own the most of it are big Bitcoin holders. I mean, we're talking about people who already have vast amounts of wealth are going to have equally vast amounts of wealth in this. And so it's going to be viewed as extremely tightly held by Bitcoin whales, particularly because they got the airdrop off the grid.
Like, did they buy this rhodium, or did they just get a lot in the airdrop?
They got it for free in the airdrop. And again,
so how's that different from Bitcoin Cash? Because I got Bitcoin Cash for free and I bought a laptop. I could have bought 3 or 4 laptops. I waited 3 months or whatever, but I spent all my Bitcoin Cash, and I was a Bitcoin holder.
Yeah, because Bcash is a clone of Bitcoin where there's not a single differentiating factor. The people that got it, for the most part, like myself and you, got rid of it as soon as they could, partly because it was, quote, managed by a con artist who has proven that time and again. And the use case that they claim is, we're going to be Bitcoin, just like it's pretty much the same use case as B gold or B diamond or any of these things. So I looked at that from day one and said, why on earth would I want it? I want Bitcoin. And again, I'm not saying that people aren't going to sell B rhodium. I mean, of course they will, and some will sell for Bitcoin. That's a prerogative. But B rhodium is not a clone of Bitcoin. It's not a Bitcoin blockchain fork. It does not have the same supply features. It does not have the same
why does it have the name Bitcoin on the front of it?
Well, I mean, for the same reason,
they were just brand. I mean, I don't.
They were just trying to create brand recognition. That's what's so great.
Why not just call it rhodium then? Like, why not just rhodium?
Well, there's already something called rhodium, and it's funny because I've actually spoken
about digital rhodium. I mean,
I've actually spoken to. Well, first of all, it was created in December when this was the craze. These things were all very valuable. That's when the concept came around. The airdrop was in December when you were having 25 forks that were all extremely valuable. I actually have, chatted with the, DM'd with some of the guys about maybe even changing the name to give it something a little different. But right now, there's a lot of inertia, and unlike Bcash, it's not trying to compete with Bitcoin. It's trying to create something that has Bitcoin-like aspects that investors will find valuable. So again,
so you say that Bitcoin forks are all part of a craze. How do you know that you're not caught up in the craze? Can we pull you back from this craze?
Yeah.
Andy?
Well, that craze is
yourself and say why is Andy, who hates Bitcoin Cash, hates Bitcoin Diamond and all gold, all these other, why did you change on this one? Like I'm having a hard time understanding. I think people are having a hard time understanding. We just want to understand. So.
The craze ended a long time ago. And the thing is, if you go all the way back to October, because I think the B gold was in late October, the first thing I ever wrote about it was that I thought it might have a chance. I said, that's an interesting concept, Bitcoin that the average person can mine. It was, just for a brief second, because these things were being valued at unbelievable levels. And yeah, everyone got caught up in the craze. It wasn't long before I realized, oh no, they're really just clones. And as it turns out, everyone even tons of people use the Equihash now.
Why is it a good thing if the average person can mine? Doesn't that mean that it's just maybe new, or there isn't ASICs, or Bitcoin could be mined early on by an average person, but then it became popular and now it's too hard.
Well, it was a marketing gimmick. Again, I'm a layman. Right? It sounded good at the time, and it happened to be a time of a craze. Right now, we are not in a craze. And believe me, if I did not like this concept of B rhodium, I wouldn't be. I don't have to talk about it all. I could just sell it day one, like it's Bcash. Like, great, I'll sell it for Bitcoin, and that's the end of it.
Why don't we do that? That seems all right to me. It's free. It's free.
Yeah,
you got it for free. You sell it.
Go for it.
I didn't claim the airdrop, because the airdrop seems to be this complicated rules-based thing instead of just generally airdropping. What do you think? Let's compare startups. Okay, Bitcoin starts, no one knows about it, pretty fair start. Litecoin starts, one of the most fair starts ever. Charlie Lee didn't even pre-mine it or early mine it, as they call it, an active pre-mine. B rhodium, everyone has to sign up at this page. You said there was bonuses, there are multiple sign-up rounds. Is this a better launch than, say, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, any of those?
Well, nothing. Bitcoin is like the virgin birth. I mean, there's nothing like it in history. I guess Litecoin was almost like Charlie was, without knowing specifics, he was kind of creating like a second type Bitcoin as an experiment, which turned out to be
at the time there were a lot of like pre-mined coins, and there were a lot of early mined coins where people would mine them secretly. And Charlie, for all of his ups and downs and things, he just kind of created it, and he could have early mined the hell out of it, but he didn't, and that's his.
It was like an experiment. It was close to Bitcoin in that it was kind of like an experiment. It wasn't meant like I'm going to capitalize on this. It turned out to be a very good experiment that was very useful, at least for a time. And but you can't compare anything to Bitcoin with this birth, where someone owns 1 million coins and they'll never touch them. It's just that's
Bitcoin's still the best.
Yeah,
still be on Bitcoin. I still don't. You haven't dragged me over towards rhodium here. Like, I'm not sure why you're dragged over there. Like, I'm trying to understand.
It comes down to this, Thomas. Everyone should go to the article that I wrote. Everything on my website, some of the old articles you can find. It's called Cryptocurrencies versus Securities, and I can't emphasize this enough. The only one that's a true cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, and by currency meaning money. Like, it acts like gold, and it can act like actual money in time. Everything else out there is a glorified tech stock. Everything from rhodium to Ethereum, because they are creating new age technology stocks. In the case of rhodium, the technology is just a very what's the word? A very customized and useful way to store wealth, as opposed to Ethereum, which is a very customized and specified way to do smart contracts, if you believe in that, or create tokens.
Okay, so, but why would you store your wealth in rhodium instead of Bitcoin?
I'm not storing it in instead.
Are you selling your Bitcoin to buy rhodium? Roger Ver said that he was going to sell his Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin.
No,
cash.
my Bitcoin is my rock. I'll never sell it. That's the goal. That's why I'm hodl. I mean, it's funny when people like say, well, he's into shilling altcoins. Who's been the biggest Bitcoin maximalist? Me. Ask my clients, read my hundreds of articles, watch my
That's why this is so confusing. Everyone's trying to understand this, and I watch your interviews and I listen to your podcasts and stuff. You're all fine. I read your Twitter and it's all like rhodium stuff, and then people get upset at you, and then they get upset at me.
I own Bitcoin.
I'm just
I own Bitcoin, and I have gotten all kinds of things for free. Like Bcash, that I despised for whatever reason. I saw no value in them at all. In this, I see value as a Wall Street type investor. I believe that not only could it go up, but it has a chance in the right environment to actually, at some point, go up against Bitcoin for some point. I mean, there's going to be altcoins that do it. They've done it.
So is it about gaining more money, gaining more value? Because I don't think that rhodium's not out yet, right? We're still in the pre-phase. I don't like to talk about these altcoins and stuff, but EOS went up 15% in the last 2 days. Stellar went up 30%. Those are actual gains on the ledger that I could sell now. Why would people want to invest in rhodium, which isn't even out yet, or even if you got it for free? Are you going to buy more of it?
No, I've always said that I've always
if it's going to go up in value and it's going to be a good store of value, why wouldn't you buy more of it? Why would other people buy more of it?
This is what I do. This is what I do. I mean, I've said this a million times. I am a risk-averse individual. That's why I only bought Bitcoin, and that's why to my clients I have only recommended that they buy Bitcoin and put them on Trezors. It's the only thing I've ever told people to do. It's the only thing I've ever done because I'm risk-averse.
Why would you sully your reputation by talking about this thing on Twitter?
Well, I'm not sure. Because I believe it will do well. And again, my reputation, I'll say this again. If my reputation isn't cemented already as someone who has, from January 2016, I got fired from a precious metal company for talking about Bitcoin too much every freaking day, from $400 up to $20,000. And I do all this. It's almost like I'm on the World Crypto Network getting paid. I get paid nothing. My business pays me very little. Steemit pays me very little. My reputation is someone who has been, I guess, the equivalent of a Bitcoin maximalist, simply saying buy and hold Bitcoin. But I keep, again, I'm acknowledging the world is changing to the fact that we are going to have a digital age, which includes other things other than Bitcoin. And if someone happens to give me something for free, I can determine if I want to hold it or sell it. If I don't sell it all right away for Bitcoin, does that mean like my reputation is bad? No, I'm a professional Wall Street investor for 30 years. And I happen to believe that this is something that's worth holding. There are also many people that are listening to this or not listening to this, but we'll find out about in other places who are like, yeah, well, I wasn't a Bitcoin holder, or I was and I didn't get it. And I think this is a good speculation. And I will look into it, not because Andy was on this show, because just like I look into EOS or anything else. There's plenty of altcoins out there that are legit. They're not all scams. We just talked about it.
Do you suggest any other altcoins? I'm not trying to out you or your portfolio, but when you go on Twitter, are you saying, hey, Stellar's cool, or EOS or Litecoin, Megacoin? I don't want to just pick on those ones.
No. Here's what I've done. Again, anyone who follows me knows. There was a time last summer where I did own some Litecoin. It was about 10, not even 10%. Of my Bitcoin. So maybe I was 92% Bitcoin, 8% Litecoin. Even wrote an article or two saying, is Litecoin silver to Bitcoin's gold? Because it was intriguing, especially before the scaling debate. After the scaling debate occurred and was over, and particularly after the Bcash fork, and I was like, wow, you hold Bitcoin and you can get free other ones. I sold the Litecoin for Bitcoin. That was it. And I said that, and I said, I don't believe it's in the age of the post SegWit, I don't see a reason for it. That was it. And since then, it's been all Bitcoin. I've never once said to own an altcoin. Like I said, when B Gold came out, I wrote an article saying it's an interesting concept. I might hold it for a while. I did, and then I changed my mind and sold it very quickly. You know, in the case of B,
even with Bcash, I told people to sell a third early, a third in the middle, and a third late. Yeah. And it turned out that we just needed to move that thing down the line because there was more money in there later. And a lot of people, Tone, said that Bcash was going to $200 and $20, and it did go to like 200, and then it went to a freaking 1,000. Like a lot of people were telling me, and I didn't believe it. I have a hard time investing in things I don't believe in or thinking that it's just going to go up because. But I know a lot of people who invested, they're kind of counter investors. They do the opposite of what people say. They made a lot of money on Bcash by buying it during this whole period where Tone was bagging on it, and then went to 1,000, and then they got out. I mean, is this one of those things? Should people be into rhodium for a short time just to make money? And I think your reputation should be solid. I think my reputation should be solid. But basically, to tell you what's happening, because of your tweets about rhodium, people are attacking you. And then because of the World Crypto Network, they're attacking me. And all of these people have forgotten all the things we say, or that I'm doing daily shows talking about Bitcoin every day. And you could even call in and ask me if you have a problem with me. Some of them, even close people that you think would call you up on the phone and tell you how they're feeling, they've gotten mad over chat and quit. A lot of people are banning and blocking and all this kind of thing. So.
Well, look, I've been a public commentator 15 years now. I've seen every type of you know, commenter. My favorite are these schizos, the one who love you one day and the next day they tell you they want you to die, and then the price goes back up and they love you again. I've seen everything, trust me. And the funny thing is, the most vocal people, I mean, you know this by now, are the ones who are the no coiners or the ones who own almost nothing. And they tend to be very vocal, and they make it seem like there's this whole like you know, cacophony of hatred. You know, if you count the amount of people that have said bad things about me, it's like nothing. And in fact, my Twitter following right now, I think I'm about 30 from my all-time high, and I've blocked like 200 people at least because I just won't deal with people just trolling. So, you know, you'll get a couple of vocal people. I had the same thing with Miles Franklin. Someone would say, would call him up and say, Andy Hoffman said this thing, it's so horrible. And he'd like email my boss, like the president. And so my boss would get all freaked out and go, how can you say this? And I'm going, it's just one peanut gallery. You know, people understand what I'm doing. I mean, you have to make a decision for how you feel about the World Crypto Network. And, you know, we could talk all kinds of things, but you know, there's no hatred out there. There are people out there who hate rhodium because they don't have it. There's people who hate it because they are diehard Bitcoin maximalists. There are people who just want to think that everyone is a scammer or a shiller. But look, the fact is, I believe, you said, what do I want to do with rhodium? Look, Bcash was a completely unique thing. First of all, it was the first one. Second of all, it was propped up and still is by a con artist. Third of all, it came out at the bottom of the most monstrous bull run we've ever seen in our lives in any asset class. I mean, it went to $4,000, not because of Roger Ver hype, because the whole sector went berserk. I mean, B Gold was what, $300? I'm looking at Super Bitcoin, Lightning Bitcoin, all these things that went berserk. It was just the time. It was the zeitgeist, and that zeitgeist is a lot different. It's a lot more discerning right now. So people aren't going to just buy rhodium just because I say it. They're going to look at. I think more people will look at it. And if we do have another wild bull market run, it will go crazy. But you know what? Bcash will probably go crazy too. So all I'm doing is putting out facts. I am not shilling. I am trying to make something that I think will be a good investment do better. And but you know, Bitcoin is the only thing that I'm determined to hold forever. I can't say if rhodium's use case will be the same 6 years from now, or 6 months from now, or 60 years from now. I just think that right now, as someone who's a finance guy, I believe that it has all of the tools to be a very valuable asset, particularly in a bull market. That's it. And if people don't want to follow me, well, don't follow me. What do I care? No one's paying me. I can't even, when you think about all that you and I have done, all this stuff, it's all for free. No one's paying us, and they act like we have to do whatever they want and act however they want. I feel very comfortable with my reputation, and there's nothing about rhodium or anything that I'm saying about it. And by the way, if I thought there was anything even slightly unsavory about it, of course I wouldn't talk about it. I think that it's being done responsibly, but it is of course a risk, and it's definitely, it may never get to a status where you say, I'm going to hold it forever, like Bitcoin already has gotten to.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have a kind of an ownership over these ideas, or they think they have an ownership over what the network should be or anything like that. We're talking about ideas here. We were wrong on Ethereum. It went crazy up. I tell you that. I mean, I even think maybe it'll go crazy down, but we got to wait longer.
And it did. It did go crazy down. It went from 1,500 to 400 in a month or two. It just depends on the timing.
And then, I don't know, people want us to have like a code or some kind of standard. You can't talk about any altcoins, or maybe you just can't talk about one, or all these kind of things. I think more that if Andy, if you want to go off in your own direction here and learn about this altcoin, and I think it's going to go up and down like all the other altcoins, and I just don't see a lot of technology there or use cases or any of this kind of stuff. But I don't have to be a big jerk and like put you down for that. I mean, I know other people want to do that, and they love to call things scam, and they love to like excommunicate you. I'd rather let you learn from rhodium. You were promoting it on your Twitter, which is your Twitter, not my Twitter. When you do your shows on the World Crypto Network, I've listened to most of them recently. I think you're all right. You talk about Bitcoin. If somebody mentions rhodium or asks you a question about it, you comment. But I don't see you overtly bringing it up. Should we have a loyalty test? If I start promoting Stellar tomorrow, should I be kicked off the network? I mean, let's put you the boss.
I mean, especially because it's your network, but the fact that you do whatever you want. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're promoting critical thinking. People could decide whatever they want. Like, if I want to talk about altcoin, well, then you can listen to me or don't listen to me and decide what my reputation is. But the fact is, I invested in Bitcoin. I create a business based on Bitcoin. I talk about Bitcoin. I'm on the World Crypto Network because of my focus on Bitcoin. I happen to also have other ideas about the world, and I do have some experience in it that make me, and it's evolved. I mean, my God, nothing evolves faster than cryptocurrency. So I have evolving ideas. That's it. And you can choose to believe them or not believe them, but I've never done anything unethically. There's nothing scammy about me or rhodium. It's something you can choose to invest in or not invest in. But I think if you read all the things I've written about it and you ask questions, I think that you'll come to an educated decision as to whether you want to speculate in it or not. If you ask me what should I do, I'm always going to say buy and hold Bitcoin. That's the only, I shouldn't say guaranteed, that's the closest guarantee that you're going to get to long-term wealth of anything I've ever seen. rhodium may do that much quicker, or it may not. We don't know. But I think it's, in all the altcoin world, it's the only one I've actually shown any real interest in. And I really do believe that its launch, assuming the crypto market's not crashing at the time, will be a very, very successful one.
Now, to understand more of this, is part of this a problem between crypto forks or crypto dividends? Because rhodium is kind of an airdrop, kind of a copy of Bitcoin, at least in the name, and similar to Bitcoin Cash. Does that make it all different for you that it's a crypto dividend? Does it somehow become under Bitcoin, not competition with Bitcoin, in a different category? How is this different than like just Litecoin? Yeah. Litecoin is a wholly separate thing. This is a crypto dividend, according to like you and Adam Meister, some other people.
Well, Bcash was a crypto dividend too, and so are like the 50 other forks that theoretically I own but will never get because they're too dangerous or worthless to get. It's not, I mean, yes, I probably wouldn't have got into it if it wasn't a crypto dividend because, like I said, I've only bought Bitcoin, but it is unique. Look, I mean, the forks have all cloned themselves into oblivion. They've been done so badly and haphazardly. And when you look at them, you go, okay, well, they're exactly the same as Bitcoin, except like Bcash doesn't have SegWit and there's no hash rate and no one cares about them. That's how you look at this. To me, was a creatively created security, which I think is going to do well. I haven't found others like it. It's not, the fact that it's a crypto dividend only means it's something that I got into because I haven't bought anything else. But there's plenty of other people out there who are into speculating on altcoins. That's what these quote Bitcoin maximalists don't get. Everyone in the world, all the billions of people, are not going to have the same philosophy of we are just going to buy and hold Bitcoin and nothing else. People do all kinds of things, and that's why the issuers of securities, or these new age securities, will be looking for things that they think that the buyers will want. And it's up to you to do your due diligence. If you want to listen to, that's why, King Fudster has 158,000 followers, even though most of the stuff he's telling them is not helping them. I mean, he does say things that help, but people want to be told things, and they really want to be told bad things. I'm just putting out facts. I'm not promoting it or trying. I'm simply saying, look, here it is. I think it's going to do well. Here's the numbers. Here's the research. Do your own due diligence. And maybe I'll come across some others like that. Right now, I haven't come across any others. We're
getting a question in the chat. Is Bitcoin Rhodium open source? Is there a GitHub?
Again, I'm not like a technical guy, so no, there is a GitHub. You can let's see, do I have the thing right here where they show all the issues that are being resolved. If you just go to the Discord community and say ask for it, and someone will show you the link to it, and you can see all the issues that are being worked on. Is it open source? Good question. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out soon. I mean, if you ask them, if you just say developers is open source, they'll immediately answer. But I'm not quite sure. They're not trying to hide anything. And the fact is that the public already has it. It's not like you need to give up something to get it. You got it. But the answer is I don't know if it's open source or if it's intended to be. But
I Googled for the GitHub. It's not coming up. That doesn't mean they don't have one or they couldn't link one to me. But Andy, what about open source? Are you into open source? Have you read about open source or done any research about open source?
Well, I don't really care. I mean, in Bitcoin's case, it obviously matters because that's where my life savings are. And I've learned enough to know that open source is one of the sources of its value. But I can't, again, cryptocurrencies versus securities. All these other ones out there from Ethereum on down, I really don't care. I mean, it's nice if it's auditable, but this is the new digital age. Everything is not auditable. You have to go on by following what other smart people are saying and make decisions. And I don't think that everything needs to be open source. Some things are just private securities, and you decide whether you think it's a good investment or not based on the sum total of your knowledge. That's it. It just really, with the exception of Bitcoin, I really couldn't care less if something is open source. I just could care less if I believe the sum total of my knowledge leads me to believe that it's a good risk reward profile.
Okay, well, I would push back on that. I would disagree that it does matter that it is open source. I would suggest you go back. There's a book by Eric S. Raymond called The Cathedral and the Bazaar. And the cathedral is the way that Microsoft or IBM developed software. They were all working on the same goal. They were all working in a line, in a structure. They couldn't have any kind of random or bizarre ideas. And the bazaar is more like open source. It's a marketplace. People are trading things. They're trading actual pieces of code. Code from this software will go used in that software. That's a big part of this. The way that you develop things is different if you develop them for open source. Also, if you know that someone's going to look at your code, you're more likely to comment it and explain it. And that one of the things that's nice about Bitcoin is that all the code is reviewed. So people could say, what if they put something in that, pays all the money to Satoshi and it's somehow a Ponzi scheme and you don't know it? And I can say, well, they reviewed all the code because it's open source. And that's a lot. That's like saying that they spell check the Bible. But we have so many coders that we can actually spell check the Bible and we can grammar check it too. And that's part of the value of open source. And I think just to suggest, you need to look more at open source and consider this as one of your decision makers. I think it's very important.
Okay, well, I'm going to finish now because I said I have the time constraint. But I'll just say that you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a due diligence point. This is the beauty of the whole thing. Look, for one, I guess I should look into this more. I should ask the question, and I will. I'm sure it'll be lighting up the boards right now at Discord. And just make further decisions. I'm just adding to my knowledge. I know enough about this already that I'm not worried about some bombshell that, oh, I should have known this. I feel I know these people well enough that I personally am sold that there's no scam in there. But for other people, do your due diligence. Why you don't have to trust me. That's a
lot of trust for you to extend to them, Andy. I want to warn you. I've met a lot of people in crypto that seemed really nice.
I got it,
and it turned out to be scammers.
I got it for free. I got it for free. And anyone who's thinking about
you're promoting it,
but
but
Thomas, anyone who's thinking about buying it can do this. Why are they thinking that I'm telling you, I'm not a technical expert. So if you're saying, well, this sounds like a good opportunity, but if it's not open source, it's not for me. Well, then go ask if it's open source. I'm telling you from my financial perspective, everything that I have seen, this is my conclusion. You can't hate me for it. If you could say, well, it's not a good conclusion because it's I got to see if it's open source, and if it isn't, then that's a question. Well, then don't buy it. I'm not telling you have to do it. I don't get paid commissions if people buy it. If you think that open source is something that's important, and I may wind up looking at it more too, then ask the questions. That's all. I mean,
I just think there's a lot of altcoins out there, and there's a lot of choices that you guys, things that you could fall in love with.
That's right.
And I'm just trying to understand why you fell in love with it. I'm going to head towards the closing too, to get you out of here. I read a little bit about this. I checked out rhodium. I just wanted to share some of this with you. So they have a nice web page. Like you say, they talk about the limited number of units, how there's only 2.1 million BTR, which is less than the 21 million of Bitcoin. They had the announcement on Bitcoin Talk. They have a Twitter page. They only have around 3,000, 4,000 followers right now. They have a Facebook page. They have around 300 likes. They have a Twitter. They have a Reddit page. There hasn't been a new post for a month, and the other posts are 3 to 4 months old. There's this guy that was critical of it. This article, they said that there isn't a white paper, and it's very spotty and vague.
Actually, I think there is a white paper that's on the website, and all the action is in the Discord community. It's someone created a Reddit, but no one uses it. It's Discord. Discord is very active all day long. That's where you go. That's where the developers are. Go ask a question, and they'll answer it for you.
Okay, I'll check out the Discord. I didn't get a chance to see that. They also, this article questioned the people behind it. They say that there's limited information about the team online, and it's very difficult to judge these things. A lot of people go read the white paper and judge the team. So it's very tough right now with what's online to judge this thing by the normal standards of an ICO. So I'm just letting you know that might run you into problems in the future.
Yeah, and I'm saying this is a perfect example of why people should do due diligence. That's all. Again, I'm not sure why people think because I like it that means that either I'm horrible or I'm the point man. Listen to me and say, I like what he says. Let me look into it. Or listen to me and say, I don't like what he says. I'm not going to look into it. But I mean, this is great that you're bringing these things up. I don't think that limited information about the team is bad. I think that's a good thing. That's the whole point. Everyone wants decentralization. I don't want to know who the guy is. I don't want to know that it's Fluffy Pony or Roger Ver or whatever.
A shadowy creator worked out for us once, but it didn't work out for any of the other coins like
not shadowy.
Peercoin.
I speak to them all the time.
I mean Satoshi. Satoshi is shadowy.
No, but I mean they're not shadowy. These people are out in the open with pseudonyms and they operate anonymously. That's all.
Yeah, Peercoin was also founded by Sonny King. He had an anonymous name. He founded 3 or 4 other coins. Then he ran out with all the anonymous money.
All right. I have to run now, Thomas. I apologize.
All right. Well, just one more thing I was going to say.
Yes.
As a student of history, there has been a 42 coin. There were only 42 of 42 coins. It was a very limited supply of 42 coins. And you may think $27,000 for a 42 coin is a sweet deal. And if we look at this chart, it looks pretty good. Until you rewind to the all, and I show you that at its peak, you could get 933 Bitcoins for 142 coin.
Yeah.
Also, if 42 is not a small enough number of units, we have one coin. This predates ONE coin. This is one coin. There is one coin. That's it. And they also had a great value and then a pump, and then they lost all their value. So I warn you, Andy, this limited new units thing has been done before. It hasn't worked out well. There's some serious questions with the founders and the white paper. And then, yeah, all the people on Twitter are raining shit on us, saying you're promoting things. And I'm just letting you know about this.
Okay.
And I think
people do their due diligence.
And yeah, I think that's what I think too. They should think for their own. If you don't like rhodium, don't like it. But you don't have to shit on Andy or the World Crypto Network or me. That doesn't do any good. Actually, the people out there that did all that led to this interview, led to me having to read about rhodium, and led me talking to it for an hour here. So begin with the end in mind. I don't know what your goals were, but this doesn't seem like it's working out. But go ahead, Andy, anything in closing? All the things we talked about today?
No, I just appreciate everything about this network because the goal is to educate about Bitcoin. But the fact is that we do have other ideas in our head and that we explore. And it's not just about spending all day long saying Bitcoin maximalist things. The world's changing and we're just responding to it. And the goal is to get people to be really educated about Bitcoin and crypto and make really smart decisions And of course, the smartest decision they can make is to buy and hold Bitcoin.
All right, Andy, I think we agree on that one. Thank you so much for your time today. I know you have another appointment to get to. We might talk about this again in the future. Might have another interview with JW Weatherman. I don't know if you want to come on for that. It might be more confrontational, but you are invited to that as well if you're interested. So.
Okay. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Cool. Thanks so much, Andy. We'll let you go for now. We're going to talk about the congressional hearing, what's been happening today.
Later.
Bye-bye. All right. Congress today. We were trying to play a drinking game. It got out of control really quickly. We said every time they say blockchain technology, drink. And I realized quickly that it might be too early for this game. It was around 9 o'clock or so out here on the, not on the West Coast anymore, wherever the heck I am, the inward part of the West Coast. But let's go back to more of what Congress is saying this morning, and then we'll open up the phone lines. We'll talk about Andy. We'll talk about Congress. We'll talk about everything. This is Bitcoin Talk Show. I think we get a lot more information from talking about things directly, interviewing people, asking questions, than we do from being super critical on Twitter and limiting our options. I think that's a mistake. So as I said earlier, Bitcoin maximalism is being redefined as optimism in Congress. This is similar to when they invented hold on for dear life out of HODL cloth. It used to just be HODL. It was a typo. It's not an abbreviation. The media invented that. It's hilarious. We also talked about the divide in, I said the only divide in Bitcoin is between those who understand it and those who don't. And the ones who don't are at Congress right now. It's not going to turn out great. We're never going to be able to regulate Bitcoin, but if I say a bunch of big words and jargon, maybe I could make $1 million in consulting fees. These were some great witnesses today at Congress. He says, companies, this is great. He just described the end of Congress. He said, companies can go overseas, and then we'd have to lower our regulations to get them back. Exactly. Better not to regulate them. Let the market grow naturally. And they said, if we don't get this right, and then of course the only move for Congress here is to do nothing. They have no chance to properly regulate this. They're only going to screw it up. They said Ponzi scheme. It was time to drink. If there's no money at the end of the day, who's going to make up for this? Nobody tell them about fiat. There's nothing behind Bitcoin. There's nothing behind gold. True. Good job, Congress. And now they're creating the money out of thin air. And not just Bitcoin, my congressional friend. There's no one to trust. They trust software. They had a real problem with this. I know I'm not supposed to bag on old people, but I want to bag on not adaptable people. And not adaptable people who are from older generations don't trust software. They don't understand why they can trust software. And like we were talking about just a few minutes ago, open source software is really neat because you can actually trust it. That was the big thing when Stallman started all this. Richard Stallman was used to using a computer where he could edit the code. And if something broke, he would edit the code and fix it, and he would give away the patch. And then they gave him a computer where he couldn't edit the code, and he wanted to fix something, and he couldn't edit it. And he lost his damn mind. And he became a religious leader in this idea of open source. He called it free software, the Free Software Foundation. And it just blew his mind that he couldn't edit the software. And that's why we can trust Bitcoin, the software, because it is open source. And like I said, with the Bible example, we have 1 million coders proofreading that thing. We have 1 million coders like trying to sneak something by. And there's a huge bounty for them to do so and for them to catch it. So they had a question, totally smart question about Congress about when securities become tokens. It's like when Dr. Seuss meets Kafka. That was funny. And I don't know. I talked a lot more about Congress. I was more fired up before. Now I just want to close by saying Congress, well, she plugged her bag of altcoins. She said that Zcash is helping Venezuela. And even Crypto Cloaks got it. He's like, that Zcash plug was hilarious. That was funny. And the only other thing I think was super funny, other than everything they said, is that Amber Baldet seems like a nice girl and everything, but she's pretty new to Bitcoin, and I don't think she knows that much about it. But she said with an incredible amount of confidence that Satoshi was a woman, even so much so to get one of the congressmen to start saying she. And I think it's fine if Satoshi is a woman. It's not my argument here. My argument is there's no evidence that Satoshi is a man, woman, or space alien. There's simply none. So if you're going to make a statement to Congress as an expert witness saying very forcefully, Satoshi's a woman, which is like, if you want to say that to your friends and you want to have a little circle of friends where we all pretend Satoshi's a woman, because I don't want to speculate on the reasons why, but you speculate on your own, and I'll pretend that he's a space alien, and we'll both have no evidence, and we can all put forward our claims. But if I went to Congress, I wouldn't be telling Congress that Satoshi's a space alien because it's a fun in-joke with my friends, or because it makes us feel good, or it's empowering somehow or something. Like that's just ridiculous. So, but I want to go ahead and open up the phone lines, see what you guys want to say about Satoshi being a woman this morning, or whatever else happened in the congressional hearing, or if you want to call up and talk to me about Andy Hoffman. I think we just had a pretty good interview. Andy seemed really reasonable. He seemed really pro-Bitcoin. It just seems like he liked this rhodium thing too. I asked him directly on the record, is he being paid by rhodium? Is he going to buy more rhodium? Did he get some rhodium for, I mean, he got some for free from the airdrop. Other than that, it just seems like Andy's fallen in love with an altcoin and might make a mistake. Are we going to punish him? Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Thomas. This is Mustafa calling from Illinois.
All right, Mustafa, traveling all over the country there.
Yes, sir. I really just want to talk about Andy and the whole situation with him. You know, as far as the Congress goes, you said it in, like, you summed it up pretty well. Is that with the Congress thing, is that they never can and never will be able to regulate Bitcoin. So that's just it. But as far as Andy and the whole rhodium thing, it's like, you know, most of your viewers and myself are Bitcoin maximalists, but that doesn't mean that we don't hold any altcoins, right? I hold a whole bunch of different altcoins, more than I can actually remember to tell you right now. I have a lot that I've actually bought with my hard-earned Bitcoin, you know, but I never go tell people about it. I never tell people that it's a good thing and that they should do it too. You know, I only promote Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the world's sound money. And the only reason that I'm in any altcoin is because I like to gamble and I'm a big risk taker. And I know that I can get wrecked, and I know that there won't be anyone to cry to the day that I do get wrecked, right? So, I mean, I completely disagree with Andy. I think he's misinformed about the fact that rhodium is going to be valuable or whatever, you know. And he says that he got it for free, but there's no such thing as free. You know, there's no such thing as free. If you claim a fork, you're revealing your address, right? If you get an airdrop, you're giving them some type of information that they want. There's no way, you know, when he's talking about, oh, for every one Bitcoin that you have.
Oh, looks like Mustafa's on hold, but I would agree with him. Yeah, Andy got rhodium for. Oh, go ahead, Mustafa. No? All right.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that, you know, he was saying that you get like however many of this token or this coin for however many Bitcoins that you have. So that does mean that you need to reveal to this development team how many Bitcoins you have. That means they get to see your wallet, right? Your balance or whatever it is. And who knows, maybe they're using that for some type of nefarious activity or whatever it is, right? So I mean, my advice to Andy is be careful, man. You know, he just said right here live on the World Crypto Network that he has his whole life savings in Bitcoin. I hope he didn't use that same wallet to claim his airdrop or whatever it is, you know, because I mean, he's kind of exposed now, don't you think?
You definitely need to be careful when you're claiming these airdrops. Part of the way it works is that your private key, let's say it's on a padlock on the original blockchain, when they make a copy of that blockchain, your private key now works on both padlocks, on both blockchains. So if you use that private key to get your free whatever it is, you're exposing your other private key. So the easy way is just move your Bitcoins out of that account into a new address, then use your old private key that's now empty to open the new Bitcoin fork. But remember, it can open all the Bitcoin forks. So I'm not saying if the B rhodium, if the B Goozy guys, if B Goozy gets your private key first, they could steal your Bitcoin Cash, your Bitcoin rhodium, your Bitcoin gold, all your other things. So it is a very complicated thing claiming these dividends. So yeah, Andy did give up something. It wasn't totally free. I agree with you, Mustafa. There's nothing that's totally free. And now people are so mad at Andy. He seems, even though I agree, he's a Bitcoiner, I'm a Bitcoiner. The things we said on the air are fine. I think our reputations are fine. There are other people who are like, Andy's reputation is forever soiled because he promoted an altcoin, which apparently he was not paid, and he personally believes in it. This is his belief. And that because of this, he should be ruined and pulled down, and the World Crypto Network should be ruined and pulled down, and I should be ruined and pulled down. So there is some damage. It's not free. But what do you think, Mustafa?
Right. No. Definitely, there's definitely some damage, and you know, and I don't think that he's like I don't think that he's like he has some like evil intentions or anything. I know I believe that he has good intentions. I just think that he's misinformed, you know. And when he says something like, "Well, I'm not getting paid by these people to promote it," well, sure, you're not getting paid directly, but the more you promote it, the higher the price potentially will be. So in a way, yes, you are promoting it for your own personal gain, because if I'm promoting a project, if I tell you, you know, buy my friend's altcoin that's going to come out in a day or whatever, I only got this much, you're going to get this much, and I keep promoting it nonstop. I'm trying to get more people involved, because the more people that get involved, the higher the price valuation will be. That's just simple and plain fact, right?
Well, there is the idea. I mean, some people can say you can get into Bitcoin without promoting it, but other people say the minute you get in, you start promoting it, you start telling your friends, and then it's a question of, are you trying to help your friends, or are you trying to promote your bag? And I don't know. A lot of what we talked about today didn't make a lot of sense.
People told me back in the day when I was in promoting Bitcoin, and they say, "Why are you promoting Bitcoin? What benefit do you get? You're not part of this company." I'm like, "Well, first of all, it's not a company. It's just a cryptocurrency. It's completely decentralized." They're like, "Yeah, well, what's the benefit of you telling me this?" Well, I was like, "Well, first of all, I'm trying to help you, but in the grander scheme of things, the more people I get involved into Bitcoin, the more the higher the value will be." So, and that's fact, and I have to be honest with you that yes, I am promoting this for you and myself. It's for a mutual gain for both of us, you know, and that's why I think that the argument that, oh, I'm not getting paid to promote it's not correct, because you are kind of getting paid.
It was also strange that Andy said, at least he said to us, that he doesn't plan to buy any more B rhodium. So even if it does start off cheap and you can ride it up to a high price, which is how everyone makes their money on the altcoins, you get in early, starts off cheap, goes to a large price, and you sell before it goes down, because it's going to go down. If he could do all that, it would work. But again, it doesn't sound like he plans to buy it when it's cheap. If it stumbles, he plans to just hold his free ones. And I don't know, he's gone to a lot of work to promote what could only be a small grab of free ones. While what I'm saying here, you can buy any other of the top 10 altcoins. I don't care which one. They all went up 5 to 10% in the last day. Bitcoin only went up 5%. Like, this kind of keeps happening. If he wanted to make more money, I think that would be the way to make more money. I don't see him making enough money off this to be worth all the drama he's going through. So it's very strange.
That's true. I completely agree. Towards the end of last year, I was randomly throwing like $50 in a cryptocurrency every day or every week. Just random. I would just like literally just like go down on the little scroll on CoinMarketCap and then just see where the mouse lands, and I would just pick that one, and that's what I told my friends to do as well, because they were like, oh, they were asking me for advice, which altcoin should I invest in, even though I kept saying Bitcoin, they would kept asking me, oh, which altcoin, and I said, well, you know what, this is what I'm doing. If you guys want to use my strategy, go ahead and do it. It's completely random, and honestly, it worked for me. I made a lot of money. I ended up randomly buying Ripple and buying a whole bunch of other ones that went up like 10 times, stuff like that. So it's a crapshoot for sure. That's why I disagree with anyone that says my altcoin's gonna moon. I guarantee it.
Guarantees are bad, but thanks so much for the call, Mustafa. I want to try to keep the lines open today, so give us a call anytime.
Definitely, man. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you. And you can call us now on Skype at World Crypto Network. I saw a couple of people tried to call. Just for the callers too, if you guys want to get more callers on here, give me a short statement or a short couple of questions. Then we'll kind of answer them and move on. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this. Good morning. Welcome to the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, Mauricio from Long Beach.
How's it going, Mauricio? What'd you think today about Andy and the rhodium, or you want to talk about Congress?
Oh, no, I want to talk about Andy. So we asked this dude, is it open source? He doesn't know. Where is it GitHub? He doesn't know. Are you going to buy some more? No. And his answer was like, I don't have to do any of that because I got it for free. I'm just going to hodl this shit. Are you fucking kidding me?
That was his answer. It wasn't a great point. I don't want to be too critical of Andy, but I think he should learn more about open source and why it's important. I have like a multivariate background here. Computer science is one of the things I've studied a little, and yeah, I'm big into open source. I think it's very important. So I disagree. But yeah, go ahead. Tell us some more, Mauricio.
No, if he's gonna promote something, know something about the coin. He really just said, I don't have to research it. I don't have to do nothing. I got it for free. I'm gonna hold it, and hopefully it goes up. That pisses me off.
It's also the toughest part for me is, and I'm rooting for Andy to make money. I'm rooting for everyone to make money. Somebody makes $1 million on Ethereum, I say, good on you. I'm not mad at you. Sure, I'd love it if you give me a 10% cut, but I don't care. And again, I bagged on all that shit. I'm the monster there. But if Andy wants to make money on this, he's got to buy it when it's low, hold it during the stressful period, and sell it when it's high. I mean, that's, if you get it at 2 cents and you sell it for 20 cents, you better get, 100,000 at 2 cents. If you have the same 5 or 10 that you have, I don't know that he's going to make any money out of this. I think if he wanted to make more money, he could just invest in the top 10 altcoins, do a VC strategy, put $100 in each one. I'm not sure why this is a better strategy than that. The whole thing of him getting it for free has muddied this waters. I think and again, it could just be something in his brain, the way he thinks about it. Free things are different. Pay things are different. He's not investing in this. It's truly free. I don't know. I mean, he seemed truthful. I believe him. So.
Yeah, and like Mustafa said, I own a lot of altcoins too. But I'm not gonna go out there and be like, oh, I own this, I own that. Like I told you before, I'm trying to get my friends into Bitcoin. But hell no, I'm not like, oh, buy this altcoin. I'm like, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. The one mofo I got into Bitcoin over the weekend hits me back up the next day. Oh, what's up with all these other coins? I'm like, don't worry about those coins. Buy Bitcoin. All right. Yeah, I have all the other coins, but I'm not gonna give him that risk. I know what I'm getting into. Like Mustafa said, yeah. Hey, all these profits I'm gonna make from these alts, if there is any, because I know it's a risk, it's gonna go into Bitcoin. So to me, it's like I tell my friends, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Just keep buying Bitcoin. If anything, they're my homies. I'll buy the altcoins. I'll take the risk. And once I'm in the moon, you all with me. Don't worry about it. But yeah, don't. If he's really in a Bitcoin, let be rhodium. I don't know. Just Andy lost me today. Shit.
I agree. A lot of my friends, when you get them into Bitcoin, the first question is, what about all the altcoins? But yeah, I agree with you. I tell them to buy Bitcoin. Even now, I tell them this VC strategy, put 10 in the top 10. I don't even care what the top 10 are. But yeah, I think he'd make way more money with the 10 in the top 10 than holding this rhodium. But we'll have to see. Thanks so much for the call, Mauricio. We're going to try to go quick today. So.
Sure.
Thanks so much. And call us anytime. It's good to hear from you. And we're available right now on Skype, World Crypto Network. We did have one guy try to call. You can give us a call back. It's first come, first serve. Someone's saying in the chat that they just skipped the Andy episodes or they watched something else. I think that's another way to look at this, that it's better to have more content, right? Andy said he's doing this for free. I'm doing this for free. Pretty much most everybody's doing this for free. So I think you can't change the channel or change the video. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Cape Cod Crypto calling in. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Do you want to talk about Andy and the drama or Congress and Satoshi's a female?
Well, a little about Andy, but you know, Andy's always been kind of excitable. I mean, I was a big silver gold bug, and Andy was always calling for $25 million silver, and maybe it'll happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So I don't take him too seriously. He seems like a nice guy. I like how he's excited. But I found that when I was early on this back in 2014, I was listening to people more than doing the research, and that's probably the big mistake. I had a couple thousand Ethereum, and Tone said it was a scam, and I'd gone from like $2 to $20. I said, well, I'll sell that, and maybe it is a scam, but things can go a lot higher before the scam ever gets found out. You know what I mean?
It can be hard. A lot of us, it's really easy to go all the way in and all the way out. But if you even save 10% or 20% of that garbage, sometimes it goes up. So that's the only thing I'd say is to add to that.
Yeah. Well, it seems the best thing, I think the best advice for people is, I put in about 3 or 4 hours a day back in 2014, and I had first looked at Bitcoin at $10, and I spent about 15 minutes on it because I was busy doing appraisals, and I said, oh, this isn't backed by anything. Yeah, this is no good. I like silver and gold. And I had put like $200,000 into silver and gold, which is pretty much all I had. And it's still worth about the same amount, whatever it is, 10 years later. But, sometimes not listen to people. I remember Ripple, was a half a cent, and everyone was saying, well, we don't really like Ripple. It's not decentralized, and da-da-da. I looked at the chart, and I said, geez, it was already, 3 or 4 cents. I think almost 10 cents once, and there it was for half a cent, and it just seemed like a good buy, and I'm glad I took a chance on that one and some other ones. But I think the main thing, Bitcoin's my favorite. That's the one thing I hold and don't sell. But the main thing is for people to really try and spend a few hours a day doing your research if you can squeeze it in.
I agree. You got to do your own research. And when I started out, yeah, I could have bought Bitcoin and I could have bought all these other altcoins, but I didn't. I had kind of this religious fervor for Bitcoin. I only wanted Bitcoin. And let me be the first to give you permission to make money on things that you don't like. I didn't like Ethereum, so I didn't buy any, so I didn't make any money on it. I still don't really like it now, but I would have liked to make money, right? So all of this, like, you have to invest in only things you believe in. That's certainly a strategy. A lot of people are, I forget the word, but they're like virtue investors. They invest in good companies. They don't invest in tobacco companies or military companies or whatever. And that's certainly a valid way to invest, and you can keep that if you want. And the same in this crypto space. If you want to invest in some unvirtuous things or some things that might be built out of hype, if you're willing to buy them low and sell them high before they flip over and go straight down, and you're fast enough and you're not attached to them, and you could sell 10% on the way up, 10% every couple of days, sell it slowly, I think you could do fine. And if your goal is to make money and you don't have a religious fervor for Bitcoin, that's fine. And even if you do have a religious fervor for Bitcoin, you might end up with more Bitcoin, as confusing as that may be. You might also end up with less if you lose money. But these crazy markets seem to go up, and I think it's okay to make money on something you don't believe in. I don't know. It's tough. I don't want to rip people off, but then there's also that idea, if I don't rip them off, someone else will rip them off. Like, there's a ton of suckers out there. So it's complex.
I agree with you. I think Tone Base thinks almost everything is a scam, and maybe one day it'll all be proven true. But it seems like all the things that he thinks are scams have done really well. So
they really have. They really have.
But I love your show. I'm a big Bitcoin fan. I've got a bunch in my IRA that I won't sell, and but I will tell you that I also keep my Bitcoin Cash in my IRA too, just in case because that Roger is pretty determined.
He is, and he puts his money behind it too. Bitcoin Cash has Bitcoin.com, all those journalists, all those people writing web pages and stuff. Actual Bitcoin, we don't have it. We have the foundation, which is a shell of itself and lost all of its money already. There seems to be no Bitcoiners who want to invest in Bitcoin and Bitcoin media the same way that Roger wants to invest in Bitcoin.com. So.
That's right, and you can't discount stuff like that. I took a chance on this Chia. It hasn't come out yet, but you know, the guy that's invented it or is working on it is a pretty bright guy. Did that BitTorrent stuff. That's about over my head too. But sometimes I like to invest in somebody who's seems bright, you know, and just take a chance.
Oh yeah, you said Chia with a C, not Sia with an SIA. So there are so many of these coins I get confused. But yeah, Bram Cohen from BitTorrent is a really cool guy. I got to meet him once, and he's super smart. And it's an interesting project, Chia. It's supposed to be like Bitcoin, but not as bad for the environment with the mining. I haven't looked at it technically, but it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's really put anything out, so it's kind of it was really a blind trust. You had to be like accredited, and you had to send $250,000 as the minimum. So it's tough taking a risk, but hopefully he does a good job. I don't know.
It's certainly a risk, and again, like, I don't need to shit on you because you bought Chia. I don't need to call you a scammer and burn you down and burn down your house. And the audience out there, has the audience given up Bitcoin and bought Chia because we mentioned it casually, because we're discussing it? Like, if that's true, you have no impulse control. You have much larger problems than what cryptos you're buying or whatever. Like, if you can't think about this, if you can't tell the difference between us talking about Chia here versus us promoting Chia, et cetera, you've got other bigger problems.
Yeah, I agree. And let me be the first to say that, that Chia, that I could have just wasted $250,000. I have no idea if it's going to be good. It's really just a bet on a guy who's pretty bright. But on the same token, he did try and form one company once, and I think the company went bankrupt. So, there's a good chance it might not work. A good chance any of these things don't work. But it sure is fun when they go up.
It is, and it's a funny story about that company he made, BitTorrent. Most recently, it was bought by the cryptocurrency Tron. And I don't know anything about the cryptocurrency Tron except that they stole the name of the Disney movie, and I don't know how they got away with that. But yeah, they bought BitTorrent now. So the world is a pretty crazy place.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because, he's a pretty bright guy. If he thought that he could have used that for his Chia, why wouldn't he have? And same token, I did buy a bunch of Tron at an early stage, and I've done okay on that too. But that's another one. You have no idea who's going to win on these smart contract coins. But I think it's good to have a couple of different ones. And not that Bitcoin can't do the same thing with once you have rootstock, but we'll see what happens. It's very interesting. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm definitely a hodler, and I wish I was more of a bidler. I guess that's the latest thing, right?
I don't even know what that is. Oh, builder. Oh yeah, I've heard that. I think it's wrong-headed. I think that they're trying to do a good thing, but the problem with building is you have to be a coder or a businessman. And if you're not a coder or a businessman, you can't really get involved. I think they need something more like participatal, where we could just participate, and that's a way better, lower bar. So
I like that.
Well, thanks so much for your call, and we're going to try to keep the lines open today. So give us a call anytime, though.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. And I agree with the last caller said, like, you're not a bad person if you buy altcoins. They're talking about this in the chat. They're saying, oh, you're greedy if you buy alts. I don't know. This is a crazy new market. There's all kinds of new things. I still think Bitcoin's the best. I've told you that over and over again. If you don't believe me, go watch some old videos. But if you get in early and if you get out early, like the last caller was talking about, You can make money on these crazy alts, and why should we hate on you and dump on you for that? It didn't sound like Andy was saying rhodium is going to be better than Bitcoin. He even said he wasn't going to sell his Bitcoin for rhodium. So if you're burning him at the stake for liking an altcoin and maybe being wrong about it too, like, I mean, he didn't seem like he was, you know, thrashing me for questioning rhodium. It seemed like I brought up a couple of good points, and he's going to think about it. It seemed like he was going to go to the Discord community and ask them about the GitHub. Someone in the chat said they have a GitLab, which is a company that's competing with GitHub. As you know, GitHub was bought by Microsoft. So the GitLab, I think, is a more open source version of GitHub. I searched for it. It didn't come up. But that doesn't mean that it's not there. But yeah, we can talk more about that. Let's see what else. Oh, BitTorrent. We were talking about BitTorrent. I don't think that Bram Cohen, creator of BitTorrent, I don't think that he ever owned the company BitTorrent. I don't know if he had to get VC money or something there. I think they had disagreements. BitTorrent, the company, was never able to really market or make money off of BitTorrent, the technology. They tried to convince some companies and so forth to host their stuff on BitTorrent, but soon the word became synonymous with piracy. So if you were hosting computer manuals or something on BitTorrent, you seemed like a pirate. Whereas really, it's just this amazing technology that lets you take a file, break it up into pieces, then you as the downloader get those pieces from multiple computers, stitch them all back together, and you get the file. This is amazing because multiple computers could have multiple copies of those pieces. It creates a decentralized file network, a file transfer. And it's very similar to Bitcoin. Like if you were into BitTorrent, probably into Bitcoin. So once again, pirating movies and things might not have made you any money, but it gave you the knowledge that you needed to understand Bitcoin when you saw it. Being able to use email in 1995 didn't make me any money, but in 1998, I'd been using email already for 3 or 4 years, whereas other people were just getting into it. That allowed me to fix computers for money. You know, not a lot of money, but more than nothing. And we are open still on the phone lines on World Crypto Network on Skype, all one word. You can log in, get yourself a Skype account, call us for free right now. I'll try to keep this open a little bit longer. If no one calls, I'm going to go back to reading my tweets from Congress. I think that was pretty fun. But I got all into the Andy thing, and I got all down on the Congress thing. I'm not into it anymore. So I'm not as fired up as I was this morning. But I think we had a good interview with Andy. There's still people in the chat questioning things, but I don't know. I think we're just going to keep going with this thing. If you've watched his recent interviews, like his interview with Simon Dixon, he doesn't mention rhodium at all. He's not compelled to mention it. He's not overtly driving the topic there. I really don't see it. And as far as the idea that I should police or own Andy's Twitter account, I don't really know what any of the people on the World Crypto Network are tweeting. I generally follow them all, and they're on my lists, and I see them and such, but I don't necessarily want to control what they're tweeting. That doesn't seem right to me. We're discussing ideas here, and I think we discussed them really well with Andy. I think it was a fair discussion. Hello, Ricardo from Paris. You're live on the World Crypto Network. How's it going?
Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour, Thomas. Comment ça va? How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Had some exciting drama in the interviews today, but I think it went well. I think we can all still be friends. The people in the chat are still upset, but we might just move on right through this. No problem, I think.
Yeah, well, I think part of this whole thing of being upset and being right and wrong is literally this path that we're all walking along, whether you're part of the conversation or in the background and you don't even know what's going on in the world. If you are aware of this situation with Bitcoin and the people that are involved and these altcoins and people losing a lot of money, I think it's a scary world. It is the wild, wild west when it comes to creating blockchains. So a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. People who don't know anything about coding or blockchain are probably going to do a lot of exit scams, going to create some good marketing. And I think what you're trying to do and what everybody's trying to do is make money and also to protect the community. And that's the most important part. So when somebody comes in with a foreign altcoin and they're all about it, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, we all need to be aware that it's okay to be on either side of the path, but you need to have your own stake. And Andy kept saying something that was great. He was saying, you know, this is what I believe in, and I think everybody should do their own due diligence. And I think you were there with Bitcoin at one time, and I know you know how it feels to be kind of looked down upon for getting away from fiat or just standing alone or proud for Bitcoin. Even as things have advanced with Bcash and Ripple and all these other coins, and in that sense, store value. So altcoins have a spot. They may not be used for exchange. They might just be used for, you know, recording stuff. But what I was going to get to is the whole thing with Andy is the fact that I think he's explained himself well. I really like and value his podcasts and his shows because I always learn something at Andy's, and he tries to be as transparent as possible. I think that he's obviously not completely 100% sure of the situation or where, and he's being honest about it, and that's hard for any of us who are putting out content to do. And anybody out there with shows or content or sharing to your family, people are going to blame you. They're going to blame you. You're going to have to take the responsibility and be ready for that blame, because people get upset when you lose money, when they lose money because of you, or because of, you know, they blame it on you because you're the one that told them about them when you didn't do it. You just brought them to the water. You didn't make them drink it, you know. And you don't look at us, people who are creating content or that's bringing you to the water, like we're forcing your face into it. You know, we're just bringing you to it. If you want to take money and buy some, go get it. You know. But yeah, man, I honestly, this is great. This whole change in the price, excuse me, is really gonna create some more drama, and you're gonna get ready for it, guys. I hope you're holding on and you're buckled in, because this can go one of two ways. It can get pretty crazy and bumpy, or it could just stay the same, which is still a mess. We're still kind of getting to the jumble.
I agree with you, Ricardo. I'm just going to mute you. There's some background noise. But yeah, Andy seemed really reasonable. He seemed really level-headed. He wasn't even saying that he's going to put his life savings into rhodium, or that you should put your life savings into rhodium. We all know what shilling and pumping sounds like. It was Amber this morning telling us about Venezuela and her bags of Zcash. When you mention a random coin in the middle of your normal argument, you're shilling or pumping. Like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I should get some time coin. That's just stupid, right? And he's not doing that. He's honestly telling us. We tried to get to those reasons today. The technology, he said, the dev team is nice. I don't know, the units bias, I didn't find that very convincing at all. Even he was wavering. We could just call Bitcoin bits and suddenly it's the same project as rhodium. So I don't know about all that. But he seemed honest about it. He seemed like this is his personal choice to like this altcoin. And the World Crypto Network, it could have been the World Bitcoin Network, but my buddy James D'Angelo already had that. Also, I think that crypto gave us the chance to expand. Crypto can be about encrypting your email. It can be about encrypting your bank records or your web browser using a VPN. It can be about many different coins. And while I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, and we've had a lot of Bitcoin maximalists on this channel, including Tone, who's very loud and calls everyone else a scam, that's not really the goal of this channel. The goal of this channel was not to be super critical of other altcoins. It's to be thoughtful. Like if we look at an altcoin like OneCoin, O-N-E, and we think it's a scam, we're going to tell you. But again, that's our opinion. It's our opinion that's a scam. We didn't like Ethereum based upon the rules of the time. It had a pre-mine, had no code, had no limits on the number of units. And for these reasons, I advised and personally did not invest. We're totally wrong on the price so far, but we're telling you that we're wrong. We're admitting it. We're discussing it. This is a channel for discussion and thoughtful discussion, and I don't see any reason to start cutting people off because they fall in love with an altcoin. I think it's more of a chance to some of the people in the chat got it. They're like, yeah, he's walking Andy back. He's trying to get Andy to question his own things, and that's what discussion is about. That's what asking questions is about, and having a discussion. We're trying to understand each other's positions, and it's possible that Andy takes this new information and changes his position. Maybe he's more 80% rhodium rather than 100%. That's a lot. That's a lot for him to consider that and for him to be open to that. A lot of people who love their altcoins would have given you a very different performance. They would have shilled hard and it would have shown right through. I think Andy's just being honest. He likes this project. He's talked about it a couple of times. He doesn't really talk about it on the World Crypto Network on his podcast unless you bring it up. You ask him a direct question about it, it's unreasonable for him not to answer it. But yeah, I don't really see the mad shilling that these people are calling for, with the exception of the fact that if we're going to be Bitcoin absolutists, if there can absolutely only be Bitcoin, and yeah, I'm a maximalist and I believe it's the one, but I don't think I'm an absolutist. Maybe the audience is, maybe they've moved beyond me there. What do you think, Ricardo? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What you said about Andy's trying to be honest. He obviously isn't putting his savings into it. It kind of makes me think of a metaphor, and and he said something as well about this. We shouldn't be attacking each other. We should be looking at the solutions. But life is hard, and you can look at life as going through these mud trenches, okay? And money is this water that's being pushed down this muddy trench that everybody's trying to get across, you know? Some people have ATVs and they get through the mud better, and they've got wealthy families, they got a good job or whatever. But and then just to the right, you see all these people getting out of the mud, and they're going into this huge thing of just bushes, all right? And bushes is blockchain, and that's a different way of living. It's a more personalized peer-to-peer choice. They choose to get out of fiat. They choose to go into the forest. And Bitcoin is this huge clear path through the forest. It's got so many people already walking on the path. And off that comes, you know, Bitcoin Cash, comes rhodium, rhodium, whatever, and all these other things. And some people get lost in the woods and they lose it all, and then they're just stuck, you know, with loss of money. So they go back to the mud. But what I'm saying is that everybody needs to choose their own path. And if Bitcoin is clear and it's safe for you, then take that path. You know, if you're not ready to code your own coin, if you're not ready to support or put money into a coin, Mustafa, I give you balls for doing what you do. That's pretty cool. You can put $50 in something that you don't know. It could skyrocket, or it could go down to negative something. But what I'm saying is that this is the forest. We're in the jungles, and if you want to get away from the mud and the tragedy of fiat and where it's stuck people, and get them going into their own forest, you got to figure it out yourself. Create a team, a community, and people, and get through it. You know, because on the other side there could be, you know, the heavenly land of green, where finally fiat is no longer used, and you can buy a laptop for a certain amount of satoshis that is way less than the currency of a fiat, you know, or whatever the exchange switches. So I think people need to realize we are the wild west. This is new terrain, so be ready for it.
So good point, Ricardo. I think it's much better to be up in the trees than down in the mud. But thanks so much for your call. We're trying to keep the lines open today, but it's good to hear from you.
Well, thanks, man. You have a great day. I'll talk to you later.
You too. And you can call us now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Maybe you're out there in the chat. You've been talking big about how Andy needs to be kicked off and everyone needs to be kicked off and there needs to be a loyalty pledge and all these other things. Call me. Tell me about it. Tell me why we should kick people off for having ideas. We just talked to Andy. He seemed reasonable. Maybe he's wrong, but he seemed totally reasonable about being wrong, even perhaps open to it. He's willing to accept questions about the open source. He's going to go check that out. He's probably definitely going to ask them on their Discord, which is like a Slack or something, where the GitHub is, where the GitLab is, all this kind of thing. Someone in the chat just said that they got into Bitcoin because of Amanda from Dash. And it's a pretty funny story about Amanda. Excuse me. Well, she used to write articles about Bitcoin, and she's kind of a libertarian. I think she lives in New Hampshire or something, I don't know. She was into Bitcoin, and she did a little show about Bitcoin for a while there. Then Dash came out, and as you guys know, Dash is built different than Bitcoin. Dash takes some of the mining reward and gives it to this kind of Dash Foundation. And the Dash Foundation you can apply to. You can get like a grant for doing videos about Dash. And I'm pretty sure that's what Amanda did, because she started doing videos every day about Dash. And what this person in the chat said is this got them into Bitcoin. So from the outside, from my perspective, it looked like Amanda sold out to Dash and became the Dash girl. And I knew from then on I didn't have to listen to her anymore, because she was just going to say good things about Dash. Good or bad, if they're just saying good things, why bother listening to them? The same way, if they're just saying bad things, they're just not being very thoughtful. There's a good side to everything. There's a reason to look at something, even if it's just hype. Dash got early into the hype about anonymous coins. I don't know if it's truly anonymous or not, but I know the hype says it is. It went crazy up. I'm sure Amanda retired on her Dash winnings, but it got the guy in the chat into Bitcoin. So is it good that Amanda took Dash? Is it good that Amanda made Dash videos if it led to this guy in the chat getting into Bitcoin? You have to judge these things. You have to look at it from a larger scale. Maybe it is good because more videos about Dash leads to more videos about Bitcoin. Same thing for this Rhodium. Maybe Andy's talking about Rhodium. Maybe somebody out there, it's a long shot, but maybe somebody out there bought Bitcoin so they could sign up and do the Rhodium airdrop, however you do it, right? Whatever you had to do early on to get your free Rhodium, which again, to me, doesn't even sound like a very good airdrop. Like, say what you will about Bitcoin Cash, but they could have picked my addresses out of the thing and said, don't give any money to Mad Bitcoins because he doesn't like Bitcoin Cash. But they didn't. They gave Bitcoin Cash to everybody, even very, very rich Bitcoiners who sold their Bitcoin Cash and bought, God knows what, skyscrapers or free land or something. And they love it, right? They got free money. The Rhodium, you had to sign up to get free money. Seems just not as good. But yeah, you got to think about these things on multiple levels. Maybe all this yelling at Andy over Rhodium got people to watch this show, and now they're thinking thoughtful thoughts about Congress too. Things happen in different ways. We can't always control everything, and there's this blanket calling for people to be kicked off, and this I don't know. They get mad. They don't want me to use the word loyalty code. I'm not sure what else it is, but it just seems very unlibertarian. It's very unthoughtful. If I'm a classical liberal, then right, I try to take things apart, understand why people do things, think about their motives, think about ideas. It seems a lot better to try to discuss those ideas than to have this, I don't like this guy, kick him off thing. Again, like I said to Andy too, I didn't want to read about Rhodium or talk about it or do an hour-long show about it. But those guys pushed me so hard that I had to. I don't think that was their goal. That wasn't their end. And as it says in the 7 Habits book, you should begin with the end in mind. That's how you get things done. Begin with the end in mind. What's your end? Kicking Andy off? How does that even stop anyone talking about Rhodium? It seems what we did here this morning, Andy and I honestly discussing why he likes it, why I'm not certain and kind of wary about it, and I'm uncertain and wary about everything. Like, you have to prove things to me. You can't just say them. I think that this discussion was more valuable than all the negative comments and all the time you guys spent on the negative comments and all the attacks on me and all the, you're destroying the nature of WCN. You're destroying. Let me tell you guys, I hate to tell you, WCN has no money. We pay Andy nothing. We paid all these other guys nothing. I want to pay them. It's not my goal to pay them nothing. That was not a scam or a trick. Simply the truth. We don't have any money. No one seems to put money into Bitcoin media unless you're shilling or scamming. No one seems to get the views unless you have clickbait headlines and you're shilling and scamming. What's the new altcoin? This is the new Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. And we don't do that. We're more like PBS or NPR. We're giving you the information. You think about it. You decide. So I don't know where you guys saw some show on WCN that was all Rhodium focused or all pro Rhodium, because we've never done that. Even Andy hasn't done that. He can do that on his own channel if he wants. He can do that on his own Twitter if he wants. WCN is not it's not a suicide pact, right? We don't all have to go down with the ship. If you have other thoughts, we allow you to have them, and we try to discuss them, and we try to learn about them. This blanket calling for so-and-so to be kicked off or so-and-so this and that, you're not gaining anything. You're not being thoughtful. A thoughtful show like this, and if you missed it, you can go back and rewind and check out what Andy said. If you want to be critical or you want to discuss it in the chat below, use a timestamp. Put on there 15:22 whenever we talked about whatever it is you want to talk about, and discuss it with us. Right? Hello, Jose. You're live on the World Crypto Network. How's it going, Jose?
How's it going, Thomas? Good to see you, man. I just tuned in a little while ago, and I couldn't help but have to call in. I don't really know what the hell is going on with the whole Andy Hoffman drama thing, but the way I look at it is like this. There's no such thing as bad publicity. I mean, simple as that. Did you guys check out, what's his face? Peter Schiff on Joe Rogan yesterday? you know, he was talking about Bitcoin, he was talking about gold, he was talking about the financial situation, and all to a humongous audience of millions of people. So again, you know, no matter how you feel about Peter Schiff, you know, he's providing a lot of knowledge out there, good or bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a lot of knowledge out there. What are your thoughts? I don't want to talk too much as usual.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I haven't heard Peter Schiff yet. I was listening to a little bit of Doug Stanhope on Joe Rogan last night, and they did mention it. And you know, Stanhope was joking, "Oh yeah, I just had an economist on my podcast." You know, but that is what's great about Joe Rogan, is that you get to have all these different people on with different ideas, and they discuss them. And Joe Rogan's had Peter Schiff, who, like you said, hates Bitcoin, and he's had Andreas on several times, who loves Bitcoin. No one goes to Joe Rogan and says, "You're destroying the Joe Rogan show by having Peter Schiff on here. You need to ban him right away." Like, and if they do, he laughs at them. And that's generally what we're saying here. Like, Andy wants to promote rhodium on his Twitter. He thinks it's cool. I asked him if he was being paid. He said he's not. If he's lying to me, he's lying to me. That's a separate issue. As far as I can tell, he likes this thing. And I'm not going to shit on him because he's excited and he wants to promote things. I was excited about Bitcoin. People can shit on me for that. You know, I went to the walls for Bitcoin, but yeah, I could have been wrong. Could have been totally wrong. And if I was, I would take it and I'd tell you. I'd be like, yeah, Bitcoin didn't work out. I told you to buy at 300 and it's $20 now, and we blew it, and we're all going to have to get jobs. That didn't happen, right? It went to 20K. It's still going up today. It's still fine. But again, I could still be totally wrong on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin 2.0 could come out and it could just be way better. And even then, I'm going to take down my Bitcoin flag. I'm going to put up my Bitcoin 2.0 flag, and you know, things are going to change. I'm not going to like not move because of new information. And I think that should be true for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, and to me, you know, like the way I look at it again, just like there's no such thing as bad publicity. We're all talking about it. We're getting new people to talk about it. It's bringing in all kinds of people from all kinds of angles, and it's just creating more talk, and that's what we need. Remember, how are we going to get to mass adoption? Well, you know, everyone needs to know about it, and then we, you know, it's not just you know, the point of sale thing. It's a lot of things, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think it's, I don't know. I think that what you're doing is amazing. This is an open forum. It's, again, like I love how you were comparing it to PBS, or, you know, like AM talk radio, how I like to compare it, or you like to say it. And that's all this is. This is just an open forum. And I love how you're always inviting the trolls and inviting everybody that, you know, has their opinion to talk, because that's, you know, that's it. You know what I mean? You should no one should be scared. And if you are scared, you know, just don't turn on the camera, just talk, you know, and that's it. And share your opinion, because, you know, not only could you learn something, but in fact, we might learn something from you, because, you know, hey, we could be wrong too. That's the whole beauty of all this. You know what I mean? We you know, right now we are transitioning into, like, all of us making up our own opinions and our own thoughts, which is, I know, kind of crazy, but, you know, society, right, you know, has literally built, you know, society has built a society. I know I said it twice, but and that it has allowed, I mean, that doesn't allow people to think for themselves. And so, you know, right now it's like these people that don't know how to think for themselves, and then we are telling them to think for themselves and create their own opinion, and they're just like kind of lost, because they just have no idea how to even have a thesis on, like, on something. And, like, you know, especially, you know what I'm saying?
I do, and I do think of this more of an open forum. I told people yesterday we've had a couple of incidents where people have left the World Crypto Network under somewhat dramatic nature. There was one group of people that were being critical of people that were doing shows, and I told them, you need to do shows. This is a place of doing shows, and if you are critical, it's only just do it right on your show. Don't drag down that other show. They disagreed. They went out and started their own show, their own channel. I'm fine with that. We let them move on, no problem. There's another incident where we were trying to promote these guys and have them on our network, but they weren't getting 1,000 views an episode, and no one was commenting. So I didn't feel that we were helping them, and so I let those guys go back to their old channel. There was one more incident where these guys wanted to make more money, and I've always said that if you come here, you should have your own project to promote, maybe your own QR code or your own seminar or teaching thing, or some kind of thing that you do on the side. That, you know, maybe make wooden wallets or something. You want to sell some piece of wood or something. You should have something to promote, because we don't have any money. So I always tell them, I'm like, World Crypto Network has no money. No one like Roger Ver has come down and given us $1 million to promote Bitcoin, even though we've mentioned it dozens of times. And I asked him personally if he would sponsor Matt Bitcoins, and he said I was too small. And it was like, Roger, you bought Bitcoin at $1. What's too small to you? But I don't think he understands how Bitcoin grows or how anything grows. But that's a separate issue. We could talk to him about that. But no, we don't have any money. And so these people wanted more money, so they left and they made their own channel where they can monetize everything for themselves and make lots of money. We didn't say anything bad about them. We let this happen. That's pretty much it. Everything else, like from the first episode I had with Andreas, where he said, I just said, after the episode, he says to me, I just said a bunch of stuff about the banks. Are you going to edit that out? And I was like, did the audio mess up? Like, were we technically okay? Because that's the only thing I'd edit out, is if there was like a large beeping sound in the background or something, I would try to edit that out. Content-wise, cursing, conspiracy theories, all these other things, I will discuss them. I don't want to focus there. I don't want to say the N-word or any of this stuff. But if you want to discuss it and discuss about what it does in politics or anything, I'm there. If you want to talk conspiracy theories, I don't always believe in them. Right now, my audience on Twitter is kind of arguing against me. I believe that 12 Russians did hack our government. They believe that it was a put-up job and that the server was really stolen by Seth Rich and that he was murdered for that. These are two different points of view and opinion. I'm not even really saying which one's right. I'm just telling you which one I believe in. And if I'm wrong later and it's this server hacking thing is the thing, I'm going to tell you I was wrong and I'm going to move on about it. And I think because of this, these people that very much disagree with me and they think that I'm totally caught up in a psyop and that I'm being fooled, they can talk to me still on Twitter and they can send me articles and they can say things like, with all due respect, you know, which we all know means fuck you. But at the same time, it's a nice way of saying it. And we're having this discussion and they can say I'm being fooled by a put up job. And I can say the rest of the world seems to think the 12 hackers did it. But yeah, this is an example of how good discussion is. And there have been people that like unfollow me and block me because I believe in 12 hackers. And I'm not unfollowing or blocking them. I'm trying to discuss it with them. They're bringing up points to me, and I'm telling them the nicest thing I can say, that we agree to disagree. And that's working. I think that we're still pals, and we can still say the same things about Bitcoin, and we can still think that 9/11 Building 7 and all these other things. But we each have to take our own opinion, and maybe Andy's wrong about rhodium. Maybe I'm wrong about the 12 angry hackers. But we're going to find out. And when we find out, that's when it comes down. If rhodium comes out and it lays an egg and Andy loses money and then he says, hey, I was wrong, rhodium was stupid, I got caught up, then we can say, hey, good on Andy, he makes his mistakes. And if I'm wrong on these 12 hackers and it's a totally different story, I'm going to tell you I'm wrong. Maybe it'll take longer or whatever, but you know, we're going to think about these ideas. And that's just what I would like to have here on this channel.
Yeah. And look, and just to add to what you were saying, that's the beauty of living in a free country, right? Where we have the freedom of speech, right? So we can express our own opinions, our own thoughts, and not be attacked by the thought police. Because look, I'm in disagreement about the 12 hackers, with you. And again, there's disagreements everywhere, not just with you, but with others. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, if someone blocks me or someone, doesn't like me because of something I have to say, look, I don't care. Bye. See you later. To me, it's like I like to have open discussions. I like to learn. I could be wrong. You could be wrong. We could all be wrong. But that's the whole point. It's learning how to be wrong before you can be right. You need to, be able to like look at life, through, like it's like a paradigm, not a paradigm, a trapezoid. There's all kinds of different opinions, and we have to like figure it out. We can't just rely on one person or two people. And it's like we have to rely on a lot of things, and we have to rely on ourselves and our own thoughts. It's as simple as that. And yeah, I mean, for sure, like I look at when you're providing this open forum, like the whole thing of what you were saying of where some people they need to make money off of this, or they are looking at you in order to make money or help promote them. And again, they're just looking at it the wrong way. Like I look at myself kind of like as you, I'm just doing this for the fun of it because I love it. I love talking about this. I love educating people. I love everything that comes with this, but I'm not doing it for the money. That's the last thing on my mind. I know the money and all this other stuff will come and will be there eventually, But, you know, to me, that's not why I do it. I just do it because I wake up in the morning and I can't stop thinking about crypto. I go to bed at night and I'm always thinking about, you know, the whole space and everything that we're embarking on. And that's the people that we need in the space, you know, like more than anything else. Anyone in it that is just, you know, blindly, you know, doing this like any other YouTube channel to make money a la Jackass or whatever. It's like, yeah, you know, all power to them. Or the people that are shilling, you know, again, all power to them. But that's, you know, these are not the people that are in it for the right reason. Just more like you, Antonopoulos, so on and so forth. You know, people that are just even Andy Hoffman. Look, Andy, I give a lot of respect to Andy Hoffman. Same as Peter Schiff and same as Lynette Zhang and things like that. Because look, if you guys, you know Andy Hoffman just like I do from, you know, a long time ago. He was a gold and silver bug. So the fact that he's come full circle. He's admitted he's wrong, you know, and not wrong. He's just, you know, he's admitted, you know, where we're at, and it's a financial, you know, situation. And, you know, he's transferred himself to cryptocurrency. But when I see someone like, let's say, Peter Schiff or Lynette Zhang, and they're, you know, they're still talking about a lot of the same financial things that we're talking about, but then all of a sudden they start, you know, hating on Bitcoin and how Bitcoin is the devil and like all this stuff is like, no, that's not like Peter Schiff. How dare you? You know, you have a company that is on the blockchain and you're literally, you know what I mean? Like, you know, with gold money. And then Lynette Zhang, at least she doesn't talk bad about it, but at least, you know, she, you know, talks about it in the sense of like, you know, well, it's like a new version of gold or silver, even if she doesn't understand it. And that's the thing. It's just being able to at least respect others' opinions and not necessarily, you know, just trouncing it, saying, "Oh, gold and silver is the only way," or you know, the 12 hackers are the ones that did it. There's no, you know, there's no in between. You know, that's just not the case. You know, we all have to have an opinion.
I agree with you, Jose. I think it's a really good point that Andy changed his mind on silver and gold, and that he hardcore believed in silver and gold for like a decade, maybe 2 decades. He talked about it on shows like this. He promoted it in articles that he wrote. He bought gold mining companies. He bought gold stocks, all these kind of things. He was well into gold. And then Andy was able to make that flip and that transition to Bitcoin. So I think this is not a negative thing about Andy. A lot of libertarians and other people are very absolutist in their views. They're very like frozen in concrete. No matter what happens, they can't change their mind. Something happened in this world. Bitcoin came out, and Andy, who I always say that, you know, older people are less adaptable or whatever, Andy turned out to be perfectly adaptable to Bitcoin. He changed from silver and gold. He started promoting Bitcoin. He told his people, even months ago, he sold his silver and gold. All of these decisions. This is why we should celebrate Andy. If rhodium comes out and it shits the bed or whatever, or it just doesn't work technically entirely, fails technically, I believe Andy will be the first one to admit it. I believe that he'll talk about the problems, and maybe he'll be a little optimistic because he still believes. But if he hits that breaking point where he's had enough and it failed, I think he'll tell you, because of this example of him doing silver and gold. Andy's a reasonable guy. All you guys trying to shit on Andy because he promotes an altcoin on his Twitter, he told me he's not being paid. You can say that he lied, and we can go to that later. If somebody sends me an invoice that rhodium paid him or whatever, we'll talk about that, or if Andy admits it someday or whatever. I don't think he lied. I think he was truthful. I think he's promoting this because he likes it, and I don't think that we're going to punish people for excitement. I have excitement about Bitcoin. Other people have excitement like altcoins with privacy. Christoph Atlas used to do the Dark News show here, and he would do the prices for Monero and the prices for Darkcoin and Dashcoin and Dogecoin Dark and Verge and all these other things. He liked the idea of privacy. He was not promoting those coins. We have to be able to talk about things, and kicking people off, limiting people, that's not going to lead to more discussion. That's going to lead to less. We're not going to do that here.
And again, look, just a quick caveat, you know, even if he was paid for it, even if he was shilling, even if he was doing all those things, like, who gives a fuck? Who honestly gives a fuck? Like how you were bringing up Amanda Johnson, like, again, you know, like, you know how I got into Amanda, like by looking at her, and she's pretty, and she made me want to look at her even more. I don't like Dash. I'm not a Dash guy. I don't anything. You know what I mean? I'm not like, but again, it got me. I'll be honest with you. You know what I mean? And I'm sure a lot of guys could probably be in the same boat. She got my attention. Okay, and I was like, man, you know, or chicks like that, like libertarian, super beautiful, super whatever, are they are in this space as well? maybe I should get in this space, you know? And look, I'm gonna tell you, like, that's something that Peter Schiff and Joe Rogan were talking about yesterday about, you know, just like, I don't know, something political about, you know, guys with jobs and women and this whole fucking thing. But look, it's at the end of the day, like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, she turned out to be a Dash Schiller. And, you know, again, look, that rhodium thing that you're talking about with Andy Hoffman, look, I've heard it so many times now that as soon as I hang up with you guys, I'm going to go check it out. You know, and again, you know, and I'll check it out for myself and I'll make my own opinion on it. And again, who really cares? You know what I mean? Look, I don't like Roger Ver. I don't like Bitcoin Cash. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm a capitalist, you know what I mean? And more than anything else, and I understand that we need Bitcoin Cashes. We need people like Roger Ver. We need this in order to make the space grow. I don't like them. I don't like the whole situation, but I understand that without people like him, you know, this Bitcoin itself and cryptocurrency will never grow. And it's just, you know, being able to, you know, like accept everybody, you know, and put everybody where they belong, you know, and that's it. And, you know, being able to understand to make our own opinions. I keep emphasizing that over and over again. So please, people, think for yourselves, okay? Don't listen to me. Don't listen to, you know, to Thomas. Don't listen to Andy. No. I mean, listen to all of us, but make up your own opinion, okay? That's it. That's the most important thing, all right? More than anything else. But anyways, yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time. I want, you know, like, I know you're trying to get other people to call in and stuff, but.
I think we're headed towards the end of this show, but this is a good way to close it on. And yeah, I agree. Andy seemed reasonable, and you need to make up your own mind. And if he's wrong, he'll tell us he's wrong. I mean, they're going off in the chat. He got it for free, all this stuff. I just told you guys on the air, if Andy wanted to make money, he would buy the top 10 altcoins. They're all up 5 to 10% today. Bitcoin's up about 3%. I don't know why that keeps happening. I support Bitcoin more than the altcoins, but personally, I don't get paid. I don't have a lot of money. I want to make some money. I've bought myself the top 10 altcoins. I got some, and I'm telling you, EOS is up 30%, Stellar's up 30%. I don't know why this is happening. Bitcoin's up, but these things go up more. If he wanted to make more money, he'd just buy these stupid alts. I don't know. This rhodium thing isn't even out yet. You can't even buy more. He says he's not even going to buy more, which I already told you. The way to make money, you buy it 2 cents, you sell it $2. If you're not, and you buy it, shit ton at 2 cents. Right? I don't know. I don't think Andy has more than, you know, like a certain amount of Bitcoin. I don't think he's getting that much rhodium. Even if there's only 2.1 million of it or whatever, I don't think he's getting like 1 million of it. So yeah, the whole thing makes very little sense to me. I don't think it's a reason to give up on Andy Hoffman. I don't think it's a reason to burn down the World Crypto Network. And I also don't know if you guys are keeping score, but we have very few people doing shows for us right now. We're also not looking to kick people off for that. We're trying to get more people. We're trying to get more shows. And that's what Bitcoin Talk Show is about. If people really had a problem with it, all the people that were complaining to me on Twitter, even some people that I know personally who are complaining to me on Twitter, call into the freaking show. I do a morning talk show, at least 2 hours a morning, 9 to 11 pretty much every day this week, except yesterday when they drilled my tooth out. I'm here for you. Call the damn show. Like, chat is good. Twitter's good. Your voice, real-time communication. Show me why Andy's such a bad guy, and I'll listen to you. But they didn't. These people just complain on Twitter and want everybody banned and blocked. And again, do some more work. Do your own work. Do your own shows. Do your own network. Call me up. Have me come on your network. Tell me why I'm wrong. Call me up. Come on this network. Tell me why I'm wrong. Whatever. Take some action. And if you're mad in the chat that Andy got free money, or you think he's going to make free money, or the altcoin people got free money, or whatever, go get a second job. Stop watching these videos. Stop communicating these chats. Stop writing to me on Twitter. Get a second job. Buy a bunch more Bitcoin and a bunch more goofy altcoins, and make your own damn money. I mean, I can tell you, if you want money, 5 years ago when I started these videos, I could have never made a video, gotten a job at Subway, saved my $100 a month in Bitcoin, would have bought me 1/3 of a Bitcoin at a time for a few months there, and I would have more Bitcoin and more money today, and there would be no videos. So that's the choice you have to make. I chose to make these videos not to make a lot of money, and I never did. And I never pumped any alts, and I never shilled any ICOs, and I never bought any alts or any ICOs, right? It was kind of a mistake now looking at it. $1,000 well placed into Ethereum would be $10 million. Not that I need $10 million, but it's easy to pay your healthcare when you got that kind of money. So again, I'm selling different things.
You know what? Real quick, just to add to your point, but what you actually bought, you know what I mean? Like it's something that, you know, you build this community. You are someone that we all look up to. I mean, it's irreplaceable, and you know that. You know what I mean? Like, I know you might say that because look, I was in the same position too, and I think some of us that are YouTubers as well. But you know what? It doesn't matter, man, because I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, even if it was $100 million, because I'm telling you, man, it's just like Antonopoulos. Look at Antonopoulos. It wasn't up until, what was it, 6 months ago when somebody asked him, hey, so how many Bitcoin do you have? And he's like, I don't have any. And everyone just like gave him a bunch. And it's just, you know, but he's someone that we respect, just like you. And like, and I hope to do the same. You know, like I'm just, you know, that we're doing it for the pure love of it. And again, I didn't want to speak for you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But honestly, like, I mean, I hope you feel the same way, that what you invested in, you know, meaning your time, it has, you know, brought you back so many more riches that, you know, fiat could never buy.
Well, and it's about the work. It's about valuing the work. I used to want to, and I still do, I want to write a book and maybe be on a shelf in a library. And that would be the accomplishment. And in a way, the book that I've written is Mad Bitcoins and the World Crypto Network, and YouTube is our library. And maybe historians will study it in the future. Maybe it'll get really popular next week and we can talk to the pop culture and turn them on to Bitcoin. Either way it goes, the work is still there. The reputation is the library. The reputation is the work. And just like I was saying earlier with Steemit, maybe it's a scam. Maybe they printed their own money. But Steemit created the website Steemit and all the work that's unique and original to the website Steemit. And if that's worth money, then they created a good thing. Or if that's valuable to you intrinsically, like in a religious way or in a humor way, it serves a purpose to you. That's the thing they made. So yes, by not working at big startups, by not getting a job at an ICO or getting a job with any of my friends who all started ICOs and made tons of money, or investing in them early or whatever, I was able to make this battery, this volume of work that can be enjoyed hopefully forever. It's a trade-off. I think it's a good trade-off. I care more about the work than I care about the money. So there it is. But I mean, I still have bills and things I need to pay. I'm not above money. But so
it's called being a starving artist. It's called being a starving artist. Are you a starving artist, Thomas? Sorry.
Well, that's the goal, and we've just got to keep making the art. But they're telling me the new Senate hearing's on, so I probably want to go downstairs and watch that, maybe get some tweets out about it. I could do a live commentary thing, but I've kind of been on the air all morning already, so I'm a little tired. We've done live commentaries like that in the past. It's pretty fun. You can check it out. I think we've got one from 2013 with Andreas and Chris Ellis and the rest of the crew talking about one of the last times that Congress talked about Bitcoin. And it was fun. We would pause it and we would talk after they talked. I'd like to do it again, but I need more of a crew and more people. And also, we just didn't plan it. I just watch these things kind of a seat of the pants like everybody else. So
yeah, we could do like Mystery Science Theater 3000. Remember that?
That's pretty much it. And yeah, we would pause it, and I'd disagree, and Andreas would disagree, and we'd all disagree, and then we'd start it again. And yeah, I think it took us like 6 hours to watch a 4-hour hearing, something like that. But it was fun, and I'd like to do it again. But instead, I'm just going to go tweet some nasty things about Congress and make fun of them on Twitter, so I can rest my voice and take some time off. But thanks, Jose, for the call. Give us a call anytime.
Thank you so much, and I hope you feel better. I hope your tooth feels better. I know that shit sucks. But anyway, thanks for coming on, and again, enjoy the hearings, and I'll catch you later, okay?
Thanks so much. Yeah, the tooth actually is not that bad. They didn't have to do a root canal. I lucked out somehow. They managed to do more drilling and more filling like I wanted. But yeah, it's pretty weird. I have a foreign object in my mouth now. They say it's a temporary one, and they're making a real tooth for me in a couple weeks. But as always, you can support the World Crypto Network by donating to the Bitcoin address on your screen right now, or any of the other crazy altcoin addresses that are accepted by Trezor. You can also donate to the Patreon for the World Crypto Network or Mad Bitcoins, subscribing with your credit card and paying whatever you'd like to each month, maybe as low as $2 a month if you'd like to do that. You can also support us by giving us a thumbs up and a share. That really does help more people find the show. We don't have any kind of advertising or anything like that. So if you take this show and post it on a forum somewhere, you are the advertising. You are doing the advertising. So we appreciate it anytime you guys share the word about this show. And I appreciate all your comments on Twitter. Even if you disagree with me about the 12 angry hackers, I think we're having a good dialogue there. And I'm glad that we can discuss things even when we disagree. And then this Hoffman thing is just going to have to keep going. But you can go back to the beginning of the show and hear what Andy had to say and what I had to say. And we all discussed rhodium and the rest of this drama. And that's about it. It's about 12 o'clock. We go find some lunch and check out this congressional hearing. It should be pretty easy to find on YouTube if you just Google and search around for it. I'll get a link out there on Twitter as soon as I find one, at Mad Bitcoins. So thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.